You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 787. Chapter 787, the last person in Chapter 198 requests to subscribe, 2. Is this for real? Su Yu did not believe him. Then doesn't it mean that when your people train the weak to become literary soldiers, the weak can often cross ranks to kill enemies? Flame said in grief and indignation, it's true. But the natal flame can only be used when we are risking our lives. We will not train other people to become literary soldiers, but now. I want to live. It was that simple. I want to live. As for the issue of the consumption of my natal flames, let's not talk about it. It's meaningless. If I die, why do I still need my natal flames? On the other side, the mountain drill bull also hurriedly said, My clan. We are mountain drill treasure hunters. Our bodies are strong and our work is the best. How about I become your mount? The Mountain Drill Bull clan is definitely the best mount. The Diamond Mountain Ox was at the 9th layer of the Soaring Heaven tier. It was stronger than the flames and was number 4. At this moment, it could not care less about its face. What a joke. If it did not think of a way, it would die. The Fire Crow could also refine Su Yu's literary weapons. It thought for a moment and realized that it did not seem to have any ability. The Diamond Mountain Ox clan had a strong body, but it was not as strong as the Mountain Breaking Ox clan. Their innate skills were not too strong. Strictly speaking, there was nothing special about them. However, their survivability was still considered strong. Only the sun and moon of the human race could be reborn with a drop of blood. The Diamond Mountain Ox clan. If they were lucky, they could also do it in the air. Mount. Su Yu smiled and said, I am a person who is afraid of death. Who knows if I will bring you out? Will you harbor evil intentions and directly devour your master? I won't. The Diamond Mountain Ox hurriedly said, the human beast taming clan is very strong. I can accept your contract. Let's talk about it later. Su Yu said impatiently, too ugly. Do you understand? It's not brave enough. One look and you can tell that it's a weak race. On the other hand, the Swan Ni race looks pretty good. Their appearance is good. The Swan Ni looked at him with a wooden expression. No, absolutely not. Even if he died, he would not be a mount. Su Yu did not mind. He smiled and said, don't talk nonsense. What refining literary soldiers, what being a mount, we'll see. Before, we still needed you, but now, to put it bluntly, you're not qualified. Su Yu said plainly, to be honest, I'm a little disgusted with you guys for being too weak. Even the Water Man, who was at the 7th level of Lingyun realm, was just like that. Recently, your Grandpa Su has provoked a lot of enemies, and it's no longer a matter of life and death. I can kill such an opponent myself, and I've provoked a lot of mountains, seas, suns, and moons. The few great demons were stunned. Su Yu said with a faint smile, just be your blood extractors. In the future, I'll find some time to feed you guys. Although I'm not your match now, it won't be long now. What do I want you guys to do with a great demon that's weaker than me? Kill it and eat its meat? At this moment, even the Water Man could not help but reveal his body. He said hesitantly, you are about to soar into the sky. Soon. Su Yu smiled and said, if it was not for the sake of cultivating a powerful cultivation technique, my body would have already soared into the sky. As he finished speaking, his body trembled. All the apertures in his body were opened. A total of 300 apertures were shining with light. This was the result of him cultivating the 2nd layer of time, sun and moon after he had finished cultivating the heaven-splitting blade. 300 apertures. Su Yu said indifferently, see? I have opened 300 apertures. This is what a genius is. The weaklings in your eyes may not be truly weak. When my apertures become one and I enter the 10,000 stone realm, I may not be a match for you when I fly in the air. The few great demons were shocked. Ingren also quickly revealed his figure and said faintly, "You are playing with us, aren't you?" What a joke. Suyu sneered and said, "A bunch of prisoners, do you need me to play with you? I'm just playing with you. I have nothing to do, so I'm just playing with you. Anyway, I have nothing to do. In addition, if I didn't cultivate a powerful will cultivation method, the God expanding technique, my willpower would have been emptied." After saying that, a powerful willpower burst out. It was even stronger than the usual peak of recuperation. Suyu, who had opened 44 divine apertures, had his willpower tempered more than 10 times by the little hammer. At this moment, his full capacity had reached 80%. If one were to look at it purely from the strength alone, it was probably close to rank 2 willpower. However, his willpower had not been fully accumulated or materialized, so he could only be considered as rank 1. At the next moment, killing intent burst out, lightning flashed, and an illusion appeared. Suyu said with a faint smile, "I have also grasped quite a lot of rank 2 divine inscriptions. To me, soaring into the sky is nothing more than this." The few great demons looked at him, and at this moment, they all fell silent. Suyu, this strength was probably really close to soaring into the sky. The Aquamancer said gently, "You've been hiding your strength all this time, right? You're not a new student." "Wrong, I'm a new student." Suyu said with a smile, "It's just that I'm more talented and stronger than you all imagine. Also, my backer is stronger than you all imagine. Just a few days ago, my enlightenment teacher killed the sun and moon with a single move." Lu Wenyan from the School of Multi-Divine Inscriptions, the eldest disciple of the 5th generation head of the mansion. "I don't know if all of you know this or not. This is my teacher from the School of Divine Inscriptions. As for the School of the Physical Body, I am highly valued by the Xia family. Mansion Master Xia, who is about to advance to the Invincible Realm, has personally taught me the heaven-grade top-tier, heaven-splitting blade." At the next moment, a saber appeared in Suyu's hand. He named it the Sealed Saber, Wen Bing. "Kill!" With a low shout, killing intent surged into the sky. Before the saber was drawn, Yuan Qi burst forth, and willpower burst forth. Killing intent filled the entire underground chamber. Shui Ren sighed lightly. "Monstrous." Killing intent burst forth, but before the saber was drawn, just this killing intent and ordinary temperament would probably shatter his sea of consciousness. Powerful. At least, there was no one in the same level who could match up to this person. At this moment, both the Water Man and the Shadow began to take him seriously. They were no longer looking down on him. The Water Man said gently, "We have underestimated you. It seems that you have never trusted us from the beginning to the end." "That's right. If you were so stupid, you wouldn't have been valued by these people." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 788. Chapter 788, The Last Person in Chapter 1983. Suyu, since you're not hiding anything this time, just say what you want to say. Let's get straight to the point. If we want to live, what price do we have to pay? Suyu smiled faintly. That's more like it. Do all of you think that you're amazing just because you're soaring in the air and Ling Yun? Forget about soaring in the air, even Ling Yun could be killed when I'm really soaring in the air. Taking advantage of the fact that I'm still a little interested, I'll talk to all of you. If I'm not interested, all of you will be my food to drink. At this moment, Swan Ni was no longer arrogant. He said in a deep voice, "What do I have to pay? I can live." Suyu smiled. "There's no rush now. I've already asked my Grandmaster to apply for the qualifications to be your mounts. When I need you, I'll come to look for you. For example, if I want to go out and do a mission, I might bring all of you with me. Of course, all of you are extremely cunning and may not be trustworthy. If I bring you out, the chances of devouring the master are very high. Although the final result will definitely be death, my life is too precious. All of you scumbags, even if you die, you won't be able to compensate for my life. When these words were said, the few great demons were a little angry. Suyu said coldly, "Is there something wrong? You demons, what are you in the race? Elite? Royal bloodline? Invincible descendants? If that was the case, I would not have ended up like this. As for me, I have the Xia family backing me. I have the support of the many divine languages. Mountains and seas, sun and moon, and invincible all value me greatly. Are your lives worthy to be compared to mine?" The few great demons did not speak. They might be geniuses, but they were still far from being invincible. Suyu flicked out a few drops of yuan qi liquid and said with a chuckle, "All right, don't be angry. It was just a joke. Let's talk about it later. Live well and live long. Only then will there be hope. If you live short, there's no hope at all." After he said that, he turned around and was about to leave when Fire Crow hurriedly said, "Then I'll help you refine your literary weapons. Let me take a look again. If it's really possible, I'll bring you to look for the son of the fourth generation prefect, Master Zhaoli. I don't want you to set me up. Do you know my Master Zhaoli?" The Fire Crow hesitated for a moment before saying, "The descendant of the fourth generation head of the academy, Zhao Sanri." "Zhao Sanri?" Suyu frowned. The Fire Crow seemed to have noticed his dissatisfaction and hurriedly explained, "It's not what I said. This is what the myriad races in the heavens call him. He has a yuan character divine script. His vitality is endless and his willpower is strong. He once fought with a peak Sun Moon expert for 3 days and 3 nights. He exhausted the other party to death. Of course, he was also heavily injured and died. In the end, he died. This is an honorific title, there's no other meaning." Suyu was secretly shocked. He really did not know about this past. The death of the fourth generation prefect was actually to perish together with a peak Sun Moon. In a battle between experts, victory and defeat were usually determined in an instant. A battle of 3 days and 3 nights usually only existed in legends. He did not expect the fourth generation to do it. The fourth generation did not seem to be at peak Sun Moon, right? I see, it's him. He's also my teacher in the art of weapon forging. Suyu smiled faintly and said, "It seems that the fourth generation still has some reputation. It's good that you know about it. Teacher Zhao specializes in weapon forging. As for your art of weapon forging, if Teacher Zhao takes a fancy to you, I'll gift you to him as a little fellow for him to temper himself. How about it?" The Fire Crow didn't know what to say. A little fellow to temper himself, what was this? Even though he was helpless, he still said, "If Lord Zhao doesn't mind, I'm willing to be the child of tempering." "We'll see." Suyu gave an ambiguous reply. These demons had to temper their temperaments. They were too proud. At least in front of Suyu, they felt that Suyu's strength was weak and that he was ignorant. All they had to do was to give him a small favor. And now, Suyu told them that they were nothing. "After some time, I will become stronger. You guys are nothing." Suyu left. After he left, the shadow sighed faintly. "We've been played. From the beginning to the end, he knew what we wanted and deliberately teased us. Everyone, let's make a living. He's right about one thing. When he reaches the sky, does he still need us?" The shadow said faintly, just like Bai Feng in the past. Before he soared into the sky, he was also very interested in us. When he really reaches the sky, in his eyes, we are just toys that provide blood. At that time, he won't need us anymore. As these people's strength increased, he would look up to you in the past and covet you. When he really reaches that stage, you will be nothing. In Hong Tan's eyes, other than providing blood for his students to study, their greatest use was probably to cook a barbecue. Different abilities, different experiences, and different views of things. When Su Yu really reached Hong Tan's stage, would he still care about a few flying and Lingyun monsters? Shadow, what do you mean? Shadow said faintly, nothing much. I'm a natural-born assassin. I'm not suitable to be a mount. Humans don't have the habit of riding humanoid creatures, so the path of a mount isn't suitable for me. It depends on whether this person is in the mood to do some underhanded work. If he is, then he will be of use to me. Shui Ren said softly, I'm also good at assassinating people. The white fox coquettishly said, and me. The shadow chuckled and said, it depends on whether he has such thoughts. He should still have them. Otherwise, there's no need for him to tell us about his background, his backers, his talent, but it seems that he has quite a number of enemies. He dares to train assassins in the Great Xia Mansion. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 789. Chapter 789, The Last Person in Chapter 1984. Before the mountain ox could finish speaking, Swan Ni snappily said, as expected, he's stupid. Outside the prefectural city, the Great Xia Mansion wouldn't care about him. Outside the prefectural city, this kid is so good at acting. He might purposely show weakness and lure some enemies into taking the bait. When the time comes, we'll be of use. There are too few people with more divine literature. Although they're all very strong, they're all being watched. He clearly wants to use some power that others don't know about to defend himself or to plot against people. The shadow said faintly, right, I think he has such thoughts. Su Yu, this person, although he is young, he has many thoughts. He also has shrewdness. He is much more difficult to deal with than Bai Feng. Swan Ni said unhappily, nonsense, Bai Feng is at least afraid that we will really starve to death. This fellow, he is really not afraid. In his eyes, we demons cannot be used. If we die, then we die. Who cannot see this point? I can't see it. The mountain drill cow muttered. How can you see it? Swan Ni was speechless. He could not be bothered with it. Just die. The shadow did not say anything else. Everyone, think about it. I have to think about it too. I want to find a way out. After being locked up for so many years, I want to get out. After missing Su Yu, was there another candidate? There was not much time left. Once Su Yu soared into the sky, he might not need them anymore. Their last chance was to completely surrender before Su Yu soared into the sky. Upstairs. Su Yu smiled and did not bother about these big demons. It was only exciting to keep pretending to be stupid. 2 Lingyun and 4 soaring into the sky. The weakest of them was at the 7th level of soaring into the sky. It was not considered a weak force. There were too few people with more divine inscriptions. This was the truth. Even if Su Yu was indeed valued now, it would be a pipe dream for him to always have experts protecting him when he went out. There were too few people, so taming these great demons was a good idea. However, it was difficult to change the nature of demons, so he had to be on guard. He did not think about this anymore as a voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. Brother Lin, have you registered for the competition? No, Brother Su, I can't win either. My strength is too weak. It's fine. Go and register. I've already made arrangements. For this competition, 5 people will form a group and draw lots at random. You'll be assigned to my group. I'll bring you to win. It's easy to get a spot. Brother Su, really? Of course. Su Yu smiled. Who else do you want to take? Just tell me. I'll try my best to arrange for you to be on my side. Don't be too strong. Only the weak can make others feel that you're dragging me down. Otherwise, others will find out about it. On the other side, Lin Yao was already stunned. He had thought a lot. Was the association so powerful? Su Yu could actually control a competition organized by a single divine prose faction. Right, his teacher was one of the leaders this time. Could it be that his teacher was also secretly involved? It should be. Thinking of this, Lin Yao hurriedly replied, Brother Su, can I still bring people? It won't affect your plan, right? No worries, just say it. Then. What do you think of my senior brother? Yang Sha. Yes. Sure. Su Yu quickly replied, but you have to make sure that he's one of us. You can tell him a little about the association, but don't tell him about my existence. You just have to tell him to make sure that he can get a spot. That's enough. As for whether he believes it or not, it's up to him. Besides, you can develop him into the association. But remember, if you contact him on a one-way basis, he will be your subordinate in the future. Don't cross paths with others. Develop his subordinate? Lin Yao was shocked. I can even develop my subordinate. Brother Su, isn't this too rushed? Why don't I continue to inspect my senior? If he's really suitable, I'll develop him again. If he's not suitable, there's no need to give my senior a spot this time. Alright, do as you see fit. Su Yu didn't contact Lin Yao anymore. He smiled. It was fine if he appeared frequently, but he didn't have any cards to play. For someone like Yang Sha who wasn't too important, he could just leave it to Lin Yao. As for Yang Sha being exposed, what did it have to do with me? It was fine as long as Lin Yao didn't leak any information. Lu Hong. Su Yu muttered. He actually wanted Lu Hong to stabilize his position and be a shield. Otherwise, even if Lu Hong wanted to deal with him, it wouldn't be that simple. The easiest way was to challenge the top 100 rankings and get into the top 10 or even the top 3. He wanted others to see that even if Su Yu was alone, he could still win. This way, he could publicize Lu Hong's conspiracy. Then, more people would believe in Su Yu, and more people would doubt Lu Hong. Right now, outsiders did not know Su Yu's strength. As for why Lu Hong was so confident that Su Yu could win, it might not be because of his gambling nature. It was just a random bet. In any case, his younger brother and disciple would not be able to win. It would be good if this kind of fellow who only thinks about himself can really rise to the top. He might as well become the branch master of the other party. That would be more fun. When a great disaster is approaching, this fellow runs faster than anyone else. Su Yu laughed. Of course, he would not underestimate his opponent. Although his strength had increased greatly this time, there were many veteran students participating this time. Su Yu was not afraid of a one-on-one fight. A 1-on-5, that was still very dangerous. If the others really wanted to form a team, they would definitely choose a strong person to form a team. Of course, under random circumstances, that would depend on luck. This is a competition organized by a single divine language faction. Even if there is a bit of darkness in the selection of people, the academy might not care. Su Yu let out a sigh of relief. Those guys would love to have one less opponent. His teammates were all trash. Those people would probably feel better. Who would stand up for him? Unless Zhan Hai and the others also encountered some shady business and were matched with the weak, no one would say that the competition was unfair. That was how realistic it was. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 790. Chapter 790, Chapter 198, The Last Person 5. And this was also the rule. Because the competition was organized by the other party, the quota was given by the other party. Whoever had the money could also play like this once. The last person, who should I choose? Su Yu fell into deep thought. He still needed to find a more reliable teammate. He couldn't really count on himself alone. Zhang Hao and the others would definitely have a spot, so they might not participate in the competition. If they really did participate, it wouldn't be appropriate to drag them along to fight to the death with him. I have to be strong. I have to dare to fight to the death. I'm not afraid of death. Moreover, I won't be targeted by the single Divine One faction after this. At this moment, a name flashed in his mind. Su Yu's eyes flickered and he smiled. This was a little interesting. He didn't know if this guy would be interested. Late at night. In the nature garden. Su Yu knocked on the door. A low voice came from inside the room. Who is it? Me. After hesitating for a moment, the door opened. Zhou Hao was dressed as usual. His eyes were filled with vigilance as he looked at Su Yu with a face full of doubt. Shall we go in and talk? Zhou Hao looked at him and retreated. He allowed him to enter the room. His every move was filled with vigilance. Su Yu. He actually came to look for him. What for? Have you recovered from your injuries? Su Yu glanced at his arms and sat down on the sofa. He smiled and said, Your teacher seems to have not recovered from the despair until now. You have recovered quite well. It seems that you are not in despair yet. Despair? A hint of arrogance appeared on Zhou Hao's face. As long as I am not dead, why should I be in despair? I have long been used to escaping death. Getting used to, is indeed a terrifying power. Su Yu smiled and said, Sit down and chat. There's no need to be on guard against me. This is the academy. What else can I do to you? Zhou Hao did not say anything and sat down opposite him. Do you want to become stronger? Su Yu opened his mouth, and Zhou Hao calmly said, I walked out just to become stronger. Do you dare to risk your life? What do you think? Su Yu smiled, he nodded and said, You sure dare. Your teacher doesn't know what's going on right now, and he probably doesn't have the time to care about you anymore. Looking at your situation, even if your teacher doesn't care, you're probably crippled as well. You can't compete for resources, you can't improve, and you can't cultivate willpower. I know that it's very difficult to reach the stone realm of the Thousand Mountains technique, which is why you came to the Institute of Civilization. But now, you can't cultivate willpower, right? Zhou Hao didn't say anything. Xia Yuan didn't care about him. He was still lying in the Xia family. No one cared about him now. Do you know about the contest for the quota of the Sea of Consciousness? Only there can you quickly raise your willpower and catch up with those old students and those strong people. Otherwise, you will stay in the Thousand June realm for the rest of your life. Zhou Hao looked at him and said in a deep voice, You want me to participate in the competition? Yes, you'll be in my group. Su Yu smiled and said, In a 5-person group competition, I'll bring 3 trash to participate. I don't want the 4th trash to be trash. Although you're not too strong, you don't have any backing, resources, or background. The key is that you dare to risk your life. I need this kind of person. Even if you're beaten to death, I won't care. That's even better. Zhou Hao was still very strong. The top 30 of the top 100 might not be a match for him. The key was that this guy was really ruthless. He really dared to fight and kill. Every move he made was a killer move. The last time he was beaten to such a state by Su Yu, he actually still wanted to continue fighting with his life on the line. This kind of person was very difficult to deal with. Zhou Hao grinned and bared his teeth. I've heard about this competition. There are many strong people. Can you win together with me? Why not? Su Yu smiled and said, As long as you dare to help me stall the people I want you to stall at the critical moment, I have the confidence to win. For example, if you meet Zhang Hai, who has 5 people in his team, you can help me stall Zhang Hai for a while. After I finish off the others, I'll go deal with him. Naturally, I can win. But if you can't stall him, then your chances aren't high. Zhang Hai, the number 1 on the top 100 list, an existence who fought with Ting Kong. He didn't lose. Can you stall him? Su Yu smiled faintly and said, if you can stall him, then we can talk. If you can't, then it'll be difficult. Fight with Ting Kong. Zhou Hao's expression became serious. After a long while, he grinned and said, can I kill him? You still want to kill him? No, if I can't kill him, I'll fight him to the death. If he doesn't dare to kill me, then I'll have scruples and I'll be able to hold him off. Zhou Hao grinned and said, cultivators who don't dare to kill aren't scary. If they have scruples, then they'll have flaws. What's truly scary is that cultivators who don't have scruples, if he dares to kill me, then I won't be able to hold him off. Su Yu nodded slightly, he smiled and said, that's true. He doesn't dare to kill you. Don't worry. Even though that cheap master of yours is dead in the heart, isn't he still alive? How would Zhang Hai dare to kill you? It's fine if he's weaker than you, but if you're 1,000 pounds, how would he dare to kill you? Even if he kills you by mistake. Then I can hold him back. Su Yu smiled and said, in that case, we can cooperate for once. Su Yu stood up and said, if you want to get a spot, then go all out. If you don't want it, then forget it. You can ask your teacher if he can get you a spot. Maybe you don't need to go all out to get it. Zhou Hao grinned and said, I prefer to use my life to exchange for what I want. Su Yu also smiled, I also like this. What I want, it's better to take it for yourself. Unfortunately, you're too weak. It looks like we only have this one chance to work together. Also, don't provoke me next time. I know you're not afraid of death. Unfortunately, I'm afraid. Although I often encounter death, I'm afraid of death. That's why I prefer to kill those who pose a threat to me. Su Yu laughed. His killing intent flashed and disappeared. That awe-inspiring killing intent made Zhou Hao take a step back. His face was filled with solemnity. Su Yu was even stronger than before. If you're weak, then use your life to exchange for an opportunity. I'm looking for you because you dare to risk your life. If you don't blame me for forfeiting. I won't bring you guys to play anymore. Su Yu laughed lightly and stepped out of the door. Zhou Hao was a very good partner. As an opponent, Zhou Hao was very terrifying and difficult to deal with. However, as a teammate who would fight together, Su Yu really liked this kind of guy who didn't care about his life. When they fought, it was extremely crazy. Zhou Hao's true strength might not be comparable to Qiu Yun, but if Qiu Yun fought with him, the one who would die in the end would definitely be Qiu Yun. Strictly speaking, this guy was somewhat like his own kind. When Su Yu fought, he wasn't afraid of death. That was because too many people died in his dreams. As for Zhou Hao, in reality, he would often encounter this kind of death crisis. If his guess wasn't wrong, this guy should have grown up among demonic beasts. It was very likely that he was a wild child who grew up in the wild. Demonic beasts often appeared in the wild. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 791. Chapter 791, Chapter 199 was really miserable. 1. After looking for Zhou Hao, they reached an agreement. It was also the 19th. The 20th was the time for the competition. It was not until the 19th that Su Yu saw Xia Huyo that he knew what had happened before. Su Yu did not chat with Xia Huyo much. She quickly went to the library. Library, top floor. Wuxia did not go out much these 2 days. Chen Yong had been teaching her the blood essence explosion technique. When Su Yu arrived, Chen Yong had a smile on his face. He gestured for him to sit down and said with a smile, "You're out. How's the cultivation of the heaven-splitting blade?" "Uncle Master, the cultivation was successful." Chen Yong was slightly stunned. He quickly sighed and said, "Genius. Learning the divine literature has actually delayed your progress. Otherwise, if you had been focusing on the body Tao, I'm afraid you might have had a chance to soar into the sky." In just a few short days, he had completed the cultivation of the heaven-splitting blade. If this wasn't a genius, then what was? Chen Yong sighed. Su Yu's talent was too strong. Su Yu smiled and said, "Actually, it's the same. Moreover, if I hadn't joined the Tao of multiple divine runes, I wouldn't have had these opportunities, much less come into contact with the Xia family and obtain the inheritance. Secret realm, merit points, heaven-splitting blade. If one didn't join the Tao of multiple divine runes, it would be difficult to obtain these things. If one did not sell fake information once, how would one obtain any merit? How could one enter the mystic realm every day? Moreover, fake information was based on the research of the multi-god language school. Only then would one be able to be convinced." Chen Yong smiled and did not say anything else. On the side, Wuxia asked curiously, "Junior brother, have you reached the 10,000 stone mark?" "Not yet. Not yet." Wuxia was a little disappointed but also a little relieved. He smiled and said, "I'm almost there. I've sketched out another god language in these 2 days, 8 god language." Su Yu smiled and said, "Senior sister, you're amazing." Wujia's sketched divine text battle technique wasn't too strong. It just so happened to have 10 divine texts as the foundation. Although Bai Feng had now developed the splitting method, for Wujia, Chen Yong still suggested that he directly sketch out 10 divine texts before advancing. This way, he could strengthen all 10 divine texts once. The time needed to sketch out the divine texts now would definitely be shorter than the time needed to advance to the divine texts in the future. Wu Jia was first delighted, then, she said somewhat gloomily, "Even if I become stronger, I can at most reach the 70th place on the list of the top 100. This is still the same situation as before. In fact, everyone is improving. I might even lose some of my ranking." Everyone was becoming stronger. She had been injured for 2 months midway and had wasted 2 months of cultivation time. Even though she had been ranked around 70 before, now that she had become stronger, she might not be able to maintain her ranking. Su Yu comforted her, "Don't worry, senior sister will catch up soon. By the way, martial uncle, have you passed on Grandmaster's heaven-shaking scripture to senior sister?" Chen Yong looked at him deeply and said with a faint smile, "Techniques cannot be passed on lightly. Su Yu, you have to think carefully." Chen Yong knew in his heart whether this thing belonged to Hong Tan or Su Yu. Techniques could not be passed on lightly. Even the Xia family, who obtained the 18 aperture scripture, was not taught to just anyone, but only direct descendants. Previously, even Xia Chan had not been taught. Now that Xia Huyu had obtained the 36 aperture scripture, the 18 aperture scripture was only taught to Xia Chan. It could be seen how important the scripture was. Chen Yong knew that there was such a cultivation technique, but he did not ask in detail, nor did he ask Hong Tan to teach it to Wu Jia. If this thing was passed down from the ancestors, then it would be fine, but it wasn't the key. Su Yu smiled and said, "Martial uncle, cultivation techniques are meant for people to cultivate. Doesn't senior sister have a quota to enter the mystic realm? With this thing, she might be able to directly open dozens of god apertures in the mystic realm." The Sea of Consciousness mystic realm was an opportunity. If he missed this opportunity, he might not have the opportunity and time to open so many god apertures at other times. Chen Yong took in a light breath. "You know how precious this cultivation technique is." The Xia family was able to easily take out the top-grade heaven-cleaving blade cultivation technique because of this cultivation technique. Otherwise, Lord Xia Ho would not have imparted the cultivation technique to you so easily. This cultivation technique was almost equivalent to the value of the heaven-cleaving blade. Su Yu said with a smile, "It was precisely because I gave it to the Xia family that I thought of letting senior sister learn it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to. Now, with the Xia family backing me up, even if someone were to discover it, those who coveted it would have to consider the consequences." If the cultivation technique was given to the Xia family and the Xia family knew it, then it was understandable that Su Yu and the others knew it. Otherwise, they would be careful of being targeted by others. At the side, Wuxia had a blank look on her face and couldn't help but ask, "What heaven-shaking scripture?" Chen Yong said softly, "A basic formula, a formula that opens 36 divine apertures, a formula that is comparable to a top-tier heaven-rank cultivation technique. This is something that your junior brother obtained by chance, and it's not an inheritance of our branch. Now, your junior brother wants to teach it to you." Su Yu hurriedly said, "Senior uncle, that was created by Grandmaster and Master." Chen Yong couldn't help but laugh, but he didn't say anything else. He looked at Wu Jia and said, "Your junior brother doesn't want you to miss this opportunity to enter the secret realm of the Sea of Consciousness. If you learn this cultivation technique and are lucky, you can open the 36 divine apertures. Once you enter the soaring sky, you can very quickly enter the 9th level of the soaring sky. Once you reach the 9th level, you can repair the Wanwen scripture and accumulate some time. Then, you will have a chance to reach the 9th level of the soaring sky realm." This was the strength of the basic incantations. It was very easy to cultivate the nature and open the divine apertures. During this period, if you opened the 36 divine apertures, as long as your willpower and divine incantations kept up, you would be able to reach the 9th level of the soaring sky realm. Even though there were no follow-up to these basic incantations, it didn't matter. You had already opened the 36 divine apertures. If you continued to cultivate the Wanwen scripture, the speed of opening the divine apertures would be much faster. Moreover, you would have the combat ability of the 9th level of the soaring sky realm in advance. This would also allow you to save your life. Finally, if you cultivated the Wanwen Jing and continued to open your divine apertures, it would also allow you to be stronger than other civilized masters of the same level. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 792. Chapter 792, Chapter 199 was really miserable, too. Any basic formula was a treasure. Wu Jia looked at Su Yu in surprise. Her junior brother actually had such an opportunity. Of course, she also knew the basic formula, but her junior brother actually had it, and he even wanted to teach it to her. At the next moment, Wu Jia suddenly patted Su Yu's head and scolded, "Junior brother, what's wrong with your brain? You used this to exchange for a cultivation method with others. Martial arts cultivation methods aren't valuable goods. The Xia family is taking advantage of you." Wu Jia said with heartache, "You should have cultivated in secret and not let anyone know about it. Then, you could have directly entered the 9th level of the soaring heavens realm. By then, there might be an invincible realm expert coming to recruit you." Su Yu laughed and said, "Senior sister, what's the use of recruiting an invincible realm expert? The great Xia king is invincible. Do you want me to use a cultivation technique to exchange for the great Xia king taking me as his disciple?" "That's right, the great Xia king will definitely be willing." Su Yu laughed and said, "Senior sister, there's no need. What's the use of using your cultivation technique to exchange for a disciple's reputation? Instead, it would make people look down on you." Wu Jia said dejectedly, "But you're very talented. Master has always said that you're very talented. You've always been bullied in the polytheistic literature department. You might as well find an invincible realm expert and leave the polytheistic literature department." "I've long wanted to leave, but unfortunately, I can't bear to part with Master. Otherwise, I wouldn't have joined the polytheistic literature department." Chen Yong smiled wryly and said, "You lass, your master is still here. Wuxia complained, Master, I'm only saying this here. Junior brother is so amazing. In our place, he's being suppressed by others every day. If he wasn't in the multiple divine languages department, he would have long been worshipped as a treasure. Chen Yong was speechless and somewhat helpless. Suyu smiled and said, Senior sister, how great would it be to have more divine languages department? There are fewer people, so no one will fight with us for resources. If something happens, someone will immediately stand up for us. This is because martial uncle, grand teacher, and the others don't have many disciples left, so they can't not stand up for us. You see, the divine arts are the most miserable. There are so many people, so if we casually kill a few of them, their teacher will have to consider the consequences. After all, there are so many people, so it doesn't matter if a few of them die. That's true. Wu Jia thought for a moment and nodded. He had forgotten about the cultivation technique. Suyu had a headache and did not say anything else. He passed a jade talisman to Chen Yong. Chen Yong took the jade talisman and looked at Suyu. He sighed and did not say anything else. Suyu did not say anything else. He said, Uncle Master, is Zhou Pingxing still the deputy head of the school? Yes. I heard that his students, Zhai Feng, and the others, are talking nonsense outside. Uncle Master, there's no need to argue with them. These people don't have the ability, so they only know how to talk. The most important thing is that they are not smooth talking. Suyu said in disappointment, I originally planned to teach them a lesson tomorrow during the competition. Unfortunately, the Inspector General's office suddenly punished them. This kind of punishment is not painful or itchy. It's completely meaningless. These people will remember to eat and forget to hit, which will delay my plan. Once these words were said, Wu Jia was about to speak when Chen Yong smiled and said, they are all students. A small punishment and a big warning will do. Right, how would a student dare to provoke Uncle Master? It should be that Zhou Pingxing's doing. One look and you can tell that this guy is not a good person. It's a pity this time. He escaped a calamity. Suyu looked at Chen Yong, but Chen Yong did not change his expression. Suyu said again, but this guy is very useless. Last time, I even cheated him of tens of thousands of merit points. This kind of person is useless. Without Uncle Master's help, I will teach him a lesson sooner or later. Chen Yong looked at him deeply. Suyu smiled and said honestly, Uncle Master, don't worry. This kind of person's heart of power is too important. He values fame and benefits too much. Now, fame and benefits are all gone. If I'm not wrong, a person like him is probably blaming the heavens and the earth. In any case, he won't blame himself. Chen Yong frowned slightly. Suyu continued, for a person like him, even if he really wants to die, he will die by his own hands. Sooner or later, he will torture himself to death. Chen Yong looked at Suyu again. After a long while, he chuckled and said, you are right. Suyu also laughed. Therefore, there is no need for martial uncle to argue with such a person. There are not many people in the divine literature department anymore. It is not worth it. You. Chen Yong looked at his disciple who was still at a loss at the side and smiled. Suyu was very smart, but he still preferred his disciple. He was too smart and thought too much. It was also very tiring. The future of the more divine literature department depended on this kid. However, in terms of intimacy, it was naturally the foolish disciple who was closer. Teaching him would give him a greater sense of achievement. Sympathize with his junior brother. After encountering such a disciple, he probably had the urge to vomit blood every time. Chen Yong did not say anything more about this matter. He changed the topic and said, are you sure you want to participate in tomorrow's competition? Yes. Suyu nodded. Lu Hong created some random 5-man team battle. It looks like he's going to drag me down. Chen Yong frowned and said, he's going to cheat. I think so. He sure has guts. Chen Yong said coldly, I'll go over tomorrow too. Let's see how he cheats. Suyu smiled and said, Uncle Master, don't be angry. If we really expose him, it won't be a good thing. This is an opportunity for many students to place their hopes on. If we really expose them, the single Divine One faction will at most not hold a competition. In any case, they have already given some slots to Pavilion Elders. In this way, the single Divine One faction will be hated by others, but it will be even more troublesome for us. Those people will probably hate us to death. There was no need for this matter to blow up. If they angered the single Divine One faction, the other party would return the 10,000 merit points back to the academy and directly cancel the competition. In any case, the Pavilion Elders had already obtained some slots previously. If it really didn't work out, they would privately give some spots to the Pavilion Elders. However, the students of the academy probably wouldn't resent Lu Hong, but would instead hate Su Yu and the others. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 793. Chapter 793, Chapter 199 was really tragic. 3. This was human nature. This was what would happen if things got out of hand. As for Lu Hong, he had nothing to lose anyway. Chen Yong frowned. Then I won't participate. That won't do. Suyu smiled and said, I have to go in. I can't let them take advantage of me. Uncle Master, don't worry. I'm more or less confident, but there's something I have to trouble you with right now. Go ahead. I want to send the Fire Crow to Teacher Zhao Li's place. Teacher and Grandmaster are not in the research center. Uncle Master, do you think you can help me transport it? Fire Crow. Yes, it said that it would help me refine my literary weapon with its natal flame. I'm not too confident about it. It's best if Teacher Zhao is there. He's the master of forging literary weapons. This. Sure. Chen Yong said in surprise, the Fire Crow is actually willing to use its natal flame to refine your literary weapon. This is a huge loss for it. How did you convince it? Be reasonable. When it comes to the future, it has been influenced by me. Chen Yong pretended not to hear it. What nonsense. Half an hour later. Wentan Research Center, Detention Area. Chen Yong's expression was calm as he directly opened metal cage number 6. The Fire Crow had yet to move when Chen Yong grabbed it with his large hand. Creaking sounds could be heard as the Fire Crow's tongue was spat out. It was forcefully squeezed into a small meatball by Chen Yong. Chen Yong held the meatball in his hand and looked at the water man in cage number 1. He said calmly, give me some water essence. The water man did not say anything. Chen Yong did not say anything and directly opened cage number 1. He said calmly, give it to me yourself, or do you want me to take it? Chen Yong. The aquatic man's soft voice sounded, if I give it to you again, my strength will drop. You talk too much nonsense. Chen Yong snorted lightly and grabbed at the cage with his big hand. In the next moment, in the cage, the aquatic man struggled with all his might. His willpower burst forth. Su Yu's vision blurred as he felt a monstrous wave. However, it was only a blur. In the blink of an eye, everything caused by the aquatic man's willpower was instantly destroyed. Chen Yong held something that looked like plasticine in his hand. Without saying anything else, he squeezed it with all his strength. Gradually, a drop of transparent colored water appeared. Chen Yong's hand trembled. He threw the plasticine into the cage and closed it. In the detention area, the other great demons were trembling. In cage 1, the aquatic man had barely returned to its original form. It once again took on the appearance of an aquatic man. However, it was no longer as bright and much dimmer. It had turned from a crystal into black water. Chen Yong, it's been so many years, but you still haven't advanced, you're really patient. The waterman's voice was soft and gentle. Even though it was very weak at the 7th level of Ling Yun, it was still capable of fighting. In the end, Chen Yong squeezed out its water essence. Chen Yong ignored him and looked at Su Yu. He smiled and said, even though the fire crow gave you a refinement weapon, you might not be able to withstand its flames. The water essence is a good thing, and the 5 elements essence is a good thing. With the water essence, your sea of consciousness will not be affected by the flames. Thank you, Uncle Master. You're welcome. Chen Yong smiled and said, these demons are all weak demons. Don't take them too seriously. If you can't do it, then kill them. I see that you have the intention to subdue them. There's no need at all. Master still has a few mountain and sea demons in the inner room. If you really want to get a mount, I'll ask Master to tame one for you later. Those demons have been imprisoned for many years. Master has already prepared to kill them and sell their meat. If you're willing to subdue them, you'll probably submit as well. Su Yu's face was filled with shock. There were mountain and sea demons as well. Damn! What exactly is this grandmaster of mine doing? Even raising a mountain and sea realm demon, this is too awesome. In the cage, the faces of the few demons changed. When Su Yu came to look for them, they were still reserved. At this moment, Chen Yong personally rushed over just to temper Su Yu's literary weapon. Not only did he directly seize a drop of water essence from the waterman. He even wanted to give Su Yu a mount of the mountains and seas. This, wouldn't they be finished? At this moment, even a powerful race like the Swan Ni couldn't hold it in any longer. The Swan Ni hurriedly said, Lord. Lord Chen, this little demon is willing to be Lord Su's mount. Chen Yong turned his head to look at it, and his gaze turned cold. You are also worthy. Noisy. Boom. Directly striking into the cage, the Swan Ni crashed into the metal cage with a bang, and its body was struck by lightning, leaving many bloody scars. A mere 9th level of the soaring heavens realm is not fit to be my martial nephew's mount. Chen Yong said coldly, look at yourselves clearly. You are just meat. On the heavenly battlefield, not to mention a Swan Ni in the soaring heavens realm like you, I have killed several Swan Ni in the Lingyun realm and 9th level. Su Yu looked at Chen Yong blankly, right? But, didn't Master say that martial uncle had not been to the heavenly battlefield for many years? Also, Uncle Master was very overbearing today. Uncle Master, your character has collapsed, do you know that? Chen Yong didn't say anything more. He directly grabbed the fire crow that had turned into a meatball and left with Su Yu. After they left the door, he smiled and said, there's no need to be gentle with these demons. Use both kindness and power. If you want to subdue them, Uncle Master won't stop you, but if you don't let them know how powerful they are, they might backfire on you. Thank you, Uncle Master. Su Yu thanked him. He could tell that Chen Yong wanted to help him establish his authority. One was the good cop, the other was the bad cop. As for the effect, they would have to wait and see. In the detention area, the few great demons were all silent. After a long while, the shadow sighed and said, don't have any more illusions. Su Yu is more important than you think. You should have understood Chen Yong's threat just now. Back then, when Bai Feng wanted to subdue us, Chen Yong did not show up. Today, Su Yu is probably more important than Bai Feng. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 794. Chapter 794, Chapter 199 was really tragic, 4. The few great demons remained silent. Shui Ren suddenly said, Chen Yong has yet to enter the mountain and sea realm. A few years ago, he was already at the 9th level of Lingyun realm. According to the cultivation techniques of the human race, the Wanwen scripture would at most have 8 god apertures as one. He would definitely be able to advance. He should have reached it long ago. Why hasn't he advanced? The Wanwen scripture had 72 opened apertures, which meant that it could only be upgraded to one with 8 apertures at most. This was the best mountain in sea. Could it be that Chen Yong hadn't reached it yet? Impossible. It had been so many years. Chen Yong wasn't the kind of Ling Yun who would grind his way up. This fellow was also an influential figure in the past. He was a top-notch genius in the divine language department. Swan Ni and Diamond Mountain Ox naturally didn't understand. The shadow said faintly, one with 8 apertures, entering the mountain and sea wouldn't be of much help to the multiple divine languages department. It would also be easy for others to target him. This guy, do you think he will do it on purpose? He will combine 7 apertures into one, but he will not advance. He will continue to combine the other 7 apertures, combine them again, and combine the other 7 apertures. Shui Ren understood what he said. Bai Li also understood. Bai Li said in shock, "You mean that all of his apertures have been closed, but only one of his apertures is not combined, and he will not advance. He will just endure it." The meaning of these words was too frightening. Didn't that mean that as long as Chen Yong was willing, he could merge the last remaining one and only aperture at any time? In an instant, he entered the 9th level of the Mountain Sea realm with 8 apertures closed. This was because each of his apertures had 7 closed apertures. Logically speaking, he should be able to advance this way. However, if he chose to remain at Ling Yun's level, it was also possible because his apertures were not closed yet. At this point, he could advance directly with 7 fused acupoints, or he could choose not to advance. Shadow sighed. "I don't know, but he has indeed been stuck at this level for a long time. Even if it's not as I guessed, he should have more than just fused one of his acupoints at the first level of Mountain Sea realm. He might be waiting. If that's the case, then this fellow is the next expert at the peak of Mountain Sea realm." The White Fox said in shock, "This guy is too tolerant. In addition, if he keeps stuck on the last aperture of the Mountain and Sea realm, it's easy for his will to collapse. He's too powerful, but his will hasn't expanded and advanced. Then I'm not sure." The shadow didn't know the situation either. It was just a guess before. "Soon," he said, "if he really advanced to the 9th level of the Mountain and Sea realm in an instant, the power he explodes will be very strong, but it's easy for his body to collapse and be crippled. This guy isn't going to abandon his body, is he?" The few great demons also didn't understand, so they didn't say anything else. There were too many monsters in the divine literature department. In terms of numbers, Bai Feng was the worst, and also the easiest to talk to. Yes, other than when Bai Feng was extracting blood, he was actually very easy to talk to at other times. Chen Yong was a bit gloomy and unpredictable. Su Yu was a bit sinister. He kept teasing them, but in reality, he didn't take their lives seriously. Needless to say, in Hong Tan's eyes, these great demons were either lives or materials. The few great demons fell silent again. These days were really getting harder and harder. Zhao Li's research center. The fire crow began to spew fire. Under the eyes of the 2 Lingyun realm cultivators, the fire crow trembled. The pressure these 2 Lingyun realm cultivators gave it was no less than any of the mountains and seas. The fire crow was about to curse. Was there a need for that? "I'll help you refine your literary weapon, and you still use 2 Lingyun. No, both of them are comparable to the mountains and seas to stare at me as I soar into the sky. Am I that scary and treacherous?" Zhao Li also ignored Chen Yong. He did not like Chen Yong very much. Zhao Li directly ignored him and spoke to Su Yu. He chuckled and said, "The fire crow thing is somewhat useful. Their race's natal flames are also good for forging weapons. Unfortunately, this thing is an innate skill. It doesn't count as divine writing. It's not very useful to sketch out a single fire crow race divine writing. Suyu asked curiously, then what if you learn their innate skill? Is it stronger than teacher's fire? That's hard to say. Flames are only a support, not a necessity. But there are several types of flames that are not bad in the myriad realms of the heavens. For example, the fire element race's fire of the 5 elements race, the fire crow race's fire, the fire dragon race's fire. They are all good flames for weapon forging. Suyu nodded slightly. He could try activating the fire crow race's innate skill. It should be related to the divine aperture. Weapon forging required such flames. Previously, he had mentioned that Ling Yun was helping Zhao Li forge that earth-grade weapon. Is it prepared for tomorrow's competition? Yes. This is not bad. However, this thing is more vicious. It hurts one's willpower. If you are not a sworn enemy, don't use it. If you use it, you will become a sworn enemy. If one's willpower was burned, it could slowly recover. If one's willpower was burned, it would be difficult to treat the root cause of the injury. Suyu nodded. He knew this. Teacher, is this fire crow useful to you? If it's useful, I'll stay behind to burn a fire for you. Forget it. Zhao Li was not interested. He smiled and said, it's too useless. It's only at the 7th level of the soaring cloud realm. The 7th level of the soaring cloud realm is alright, but the 7th level of the soaring cloud realm is useless. I can't even be bothered to catch this thing on the heavenly battlefield. Hong Tan, on the other hand, has nothing better to do. Fire crow. It was trembling. It wanted to cry. I'm very useful. I'm not useless, but why do I feel that I'm useless now? I'm even despised by others for lighting fires. Sir, I can fly. I can fly very fast. Sir Su can ride on me to fly. Zhao Li glanced at it and could not be bothered with it. Ignoring him, he looked at Su Yu and said, enter the soaring sky realm as soon as possible. Don't follow those people around blindly. As for this Sea of Consciousness quota, if you really want it, you don't have to compete. I'll go and get one for you. Su Yu looked at him in a daze. Zhao Li said indifferently, if you don't give it to me, the Yuan Qi mystic realm will not allow people from their faction to enter in the future. It's not a big deal. Chen Yong did not want to say a word. His heart was tired. Zhao Li was right. If he really wanted to ask for it, would Zhou Mingren give it to him? He would give it to him. Even if he were to give it to Suyu, he would have to pinch his nose and admit it. Suyu also had a helpless expression. He felt that what you said was so simple and relaxed. However, Suyu still hurriedly said, there's no need. Teacher, I'll get it myself. If Zhao Li wanted it, he needed a favor. If it happened once or twice, everyone could still accept it. If it happened too many times, it would not be good. Relying on the legacy of the 4th generation, Zhao Li's life was very comfortable. But once he got involved and participated in the battle, it would not be easy. When that time came, anything could happen. Zhao Li's status was very high. The main reason was that he did not care about anything else. The Yuan Qi mystic realm had also voluntarily contributed to the academy, so the academy owed him. However, once he joined in, his transcendent status would be greatly affected. Zhao Li did not say anything else when he heard that. Very soon, the fire crow was almost done with its refinement. Zhao Li did not waste any more words. He reappeared with his hammer and shattered the Waterman essence, covering it on the literary weapon. He reminded, every time you use fire, you can break the seal on this layer of water essence. It will normally be sealed and won't affect the battle. Once it's broken, it'll damage one's willpower. This is the water essence of the Ling Yun 7th level. It won't be a problem to seal it for a few months. Once all of it is broken, it'll have the burning power of the 7th level of the Soaring Sky clan, but it can only be used once. This is considered a trump card. Use it as you see fit. Suyu hurriedly nodded and couldn't help but ask, "Teacher, if I meet the Soaring Sky clan, do I have a chance to kill them?" Zhao Li glanced at him, he smiled faintly and said, "There is hope for those below the 7th level of Soaring Sky, but there is no hope for those above the 7th level. The Fire Crow's natal flame is also only at the 7th level of Soaring Sky. Below the 7th level, you still have to be a civilized master and not a fighter. Otherwise, even if the fighter's willpower is heavily injured, he will still have a chance to give you a lightning strike." "I understand." Suyu nodded. It could indeed be considered a trump card. In other words, if he encountered a civilized master who was at the 3rd or 4th layer, he might be able to kill the other party by surprise. The more trump cards he had, the better. Suyu was very satisfied. This way, even if he encountered some experts who could fly, he would not be afraid. He could still adjust the size of the seal. As for the sealing knife, this time, it really matched the name. Suyu sighed. "My seal blade is finally living up to its name." The two Ling Yun didn't say a word. Seal blade, to think that you would dare to give it such a name. Is this used for sealing? Have some dignity. At the side, the Fire Crow was extremely weak and had a miserable look on its face. After paying such a huge price, no one dared to look at it. It was really pitiful. It didn't even dare to run. This great Xia Institute of Civilization felt that it was getting more and more dangerous. Now, no one wanted to be its mount. How pitiful. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 795. Chapter 795, Chapter 200, Team Formation Successful 1. October 20th. The Sea of Consciousness contest was hosted by the Academy of Divine Literature. There were 5 spots and countless participants. In the mission area of the Academy, there was a large arena that was specially used for competitions. The place was very large. Normally, large-scale competitions were held here. Early in the morning, the place was already packed with people. The students were very interested in this kind of competition. Even if they did not have the ability to participate, it was not bad to be a spectator for once. Especially this time, it was not restricted to new students or old students. It was even rumored that there was a scene of a grandfather and grandson fighting together. The competition was even more eye-catching. In the crowd, Yang Sha looked at his junior brother beside him and frowned. He whispered, "Junior brother Lin, the rules have not come out until now. Teacher did not even mention it, and you already know the rules in advance." Lin Yao hurriedly looked around and whispered, "Senior brother, there are too many people and too many mouths." This senior brother of his didn't make people feel at ease at all. Could such a matter be said in public? "Just trust me. If you don't, there's nothing I can do." Lin Yao felt that his senior brother still needed to be investigated. He didn't have any sense of secrecy at all. If such a person were to enter the association, it would be very easy for others to use him as a breakthrough point and expose the existence of the association. The current association was extremely powerful in Lin Yao's eyes. Who knew how many important figures were hidden in it? When a list of exchange lists appeared previously, his heart almost jumped out. Heaven rank cultivation techniques, heaven rank martial techniques, top tier yellow rank basic incantations, earth rank literary soldiers. All kinds of incredible treasures appeared on the exchange list of the association. If it weren't for the fact that his senior brother had been communicating with him quite well these days, he wouldn't have had the intention to pull Yang Sha into the association. In the end, his senior brother actually didn't take it seriously. "There's something you'll regret." He and Yang Sha couldn't count on this quota for the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm. Even Lu Hong only got 1 quota. It must have been used by Lu Hong himself in order to break through to the Lingyun realm. The quota was so precious that most of the top 100 students in the academy would not be able to get it. The opportunity was right in front of them, yet his senior brother was still doubting him. Yang Sha did not say anything. Anyway, he came here with suspicion. His teacher was hosting the competition and he did not even know what was going on. How could Lin Yao know? How could he be sure that he could get the quota? It would be a lie if he believed him. But since he was already here, whatever. In any case, he didn't have any hopes of getting a spot. While the two were chatting, Wan Mingze and the others had also arrived. Hu Qiusheng looked at Wan Mingze and said with a smile, "Mingze, you're not participating. If you participate, you might be able to get an extra spot." Wan Mingze shook his head and didn't say anything else. There were too many people participating, and many of them were at the peak of recuperation. Even if it was him participating in such a competition, he couldn't say for sure that he would win. There were too many variables, and since he had a spot, there was no need for him to participate. This time, the single Divine One faction first released 13 spots, and the competition gave out 5 spots. A total of 18 spots were given out. The 13 people who had received the spots were now roughly counted. Hu Qiusheng smiled and said, "It's a pity. Among us, you have the greatest hope." "Right, will Suyu participate?" Suyu's strength was also very strong, but now it seemed that the chances weren't great. Especially since the single Divine One faction might make a move against this guy, the chances were even slimmer. Wan Mingze frowned slightly, he said softly, "I'm not sure. I hope he doesn't participate, or else there will be trouble again." Right now, the single Divine One faction is holding their breath. There are quite a number of old students over 30, and many of them have reached their peak. Hu Qiusheng said in a low voice, "Even if they target Suyu, they wouldn't dare to be too obvious, right?" "It's hard to say." Wan Mingze shook his head. After all, this was a competition hosted by the other party. If Suyu had signed up before, the other party should have their own plan. While they were chatting, a group of people entered the arena. On the arena, Zhao Ming and many other judges of the top 100 went on stage. Zhao Ming laughed and said, "As a judge of the top 100 building, I uphold the concept of fairness and fairness. In this Sea of Consciousness Mystical Realm quota competition, I will be the leader of the referee team." Many people heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wasn't just the experts from the Divine Literature Department who would be the judges. The judges of the top 100 were still fair. In the next moment, another Lingyun went up to the stage and shouted, "This competition is under the supervision of the Inspector General's office." In the spectating area beside the stage, Lu Hong had a smile on his face as he stood behind Elder Sunday. Elder Sun frowned and said softly, "These guys. It was clearly our side who paid for the quota to hold the competition. Yet, they want to get involved in everything." Lu Hong chuckled softly and said, "Don't worry, Pavilion Master Sunday, fairness is a must. The Academy has contributed at least 10,000 merit points. Since they want to get involved, then let them participate. Otherwise, they will say that our competition is unfair." "So you signed up?" "Yes." Lu Hong smiled and said, "Don't worry, Pavilion Master Sunday. I will take care of him properly." Elder Sun nodded slightly, and Lu Hong said in a low voice, "Junior Marshal Nephews of Qian Hai, I'll try my best to arrange a team of experts so that they can get a spot." Elder Sun didn't say anything. Qian Hai and the others were students of his lineage. They weren't direct disciples, but they were still disciples and grand disciples. If they could really get a spot, it would be very good. There were more than 100 researchers in the Divine Language faculty. This time, besides giving out 32 spots, even if he was the elder, he didn't get much. There were only 3 spots in total. After all, there were too many people to share. 3, that was too little. It wasn't just the students who could enter. Some people in the soaring realm would also enter. According to the rules, there were 2 spots in the soaring realm and 3 for Ling Yun. Of course, if Ling Yun entered, it wouldn't be of much help. The amount of willpower he could absorb was limited. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 796. Chapter 796, Chapter 200, Team Formation Successful 2. Under such circumstances, who would not want a few more spots? Elder Sun remained calm and said softly, Pingxing doesn't have any objections, right? Lu Hong smiled and said, no, senior brother Zhou sighed. Zhai Feng and Qiu Yun are his proudest disciples. Now, you know the situation. Even if he gets a spot, there's no place to use it. Zhou Pingxing had 6 disciples. The 2 of them soared into the air. Besides Zhai Feng and Qiu Yun, there were 2 other disciples who were over 30 years old. They could be considered old students. On Zheng Yiming's side, there were 6 disciples. Huang Qifeng was one of them. Among them, 4 of them had soared into the air. There was also one who was over 30 years old and had yet to soar into the air. Among Hu Wenxing's 2 disciples, Chen Qi and Guo Xingquan were still weak. Chen Qi was not weak, but Guo Xingquan was not weak. However, he did not have much interaction with the single divine language department. He could be considered an anomaly. This time, Zhou Pingxing was also given 2 spots, these were given to him previously. In fact, they were given to Zhai Feng and Qiu Yun. Now that the spots were abolished, Zhou Mingren did not take them back, in fact, they were given to the other 2 students who had yet to vacate. Everyone saw Zhou Mingren's leniency, and no one said anything. As for how dissatisfied the others were, that was up to them. Lu Hong said what he wanted to say, but he still said in a low voice, Elder Sun, actually. I deliberately don't want to give senior brother Zhou a spot. Elder Sun didn't say anything and waited for him to explain. Senior brother Zhou has already received 2 spots. There are only 2 people in his sect who are useful now. It's enough. But what senior brother means is to give him a few more, there are already many people watching senior brother. If he acts recklessly again, I'm afraid something will happen. Elder Sun glanced at him and said indifferently, did he say he wanted them? Yes. Ignore him. Stupid fellow. At this time, he still wants to jump. Does he really think that no one knows what he has done? Old Zhou can protect him for a while, but can he still protect him for a lifetime? Did he really spend 100,000 merit points to buy the information before? 82,000. Elder Sun nodded and didn't say anything more. Old Zhou had already shouldered these matters. For this, it wasn't worth talking to old Zhou. Lu Hong, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk behind my back, understand? Lu Hong smiled bitterly and said, I know, Elder Sunday. I'm also worried. After my master went into seclusion, I've always been very low-key. But this time, when I was pushed out to lead the competition, senior brother Zhou greeted me again, but I didn't dare to give it to him. I have no other choice. I can only complain to you. If it really happens. I hope Elder Sun can speak to me. If I give it to him, he will really sell these spots to our own people. But if he sells it to someone else. Elder Sun, to put it bluntly, I will be the scapegoat in the end. I will be in big trouble. Rather than that, I would rather offend senior brother Zhou. Elder Sun said plainly, don't worry about it. Little Zhou has been too complacent these past few years. It's time for him to wake up. You are the person in charge of flying in the sky promoted by Elder Zhou. I'll leave everything to you. Don't bother with him. Thank you, Elder Sun. Lu Hong thanked him as if he was relieved. Pavilion Master Sun did not say anything else. Lu Hong looked at the time. It was almost time. He jumped up and flew onto the stage. Everyone knows the purpose of this competition. There are many people participating in the competition. Because the Academy does not limit the age, there are as many as 8,300 applicants. Below the stage, there was a wave of exclamations. So many people. This was too terrifying. How long would this competition last? Lu Hong smiled and said, "In order to save everyone's time, we have decided to adopt the team battle format. In the heavenly battlefield, there are usually 5-person teams and 10-person teams. So this time, we will adopt the 5-person team battle format. On one hand, it will save time, and on the other hand, it will allow everyone to get used to the team cooperation format. Therefore, we will randomly form a 5-man team next." Some people will say, "Why don't we form our own team?" Lu Hong said in a clear voice, "That is because, when we go to the battlefield of the heavens, the military will issue missions. The civilized division of the military will not have the chance to make their own choices. Instead, they will randomly choose their teammates. Unless you are very strong and can act alone, otherwise, it will be a random match. The military will definitely not adjust the entire battle mode just because of you. You are not qualified to question it. The teammates assigned to you, be it strong or weak, that is your luck. Don't question this kind of team battle mode. If you question it, it means that you question the entire human battle mode. If someone feels that it is inappropriate, you can choose not to participate in the competition. Don't force it." Since these words had already been said, how could they question it? The military did indeed use this kind of method to carry out some small missions. If they felt that it was unfair, then they would not participate. It was not mandatory. Lu Hong continued, "The teammates assigned to you, be it strong or weak, are all your lives. Remember, learn to cooperate with your teammates. You are not allowed to harm your teammates or abandon your teammates. Someone could not help but say, that teammate is too weak. The other party has been targeting him. Don't tell me we have to protect these weaklings. Remember, that is your teammate. Don't give up, don't abandon. That is what you should do." Lu Hong said coldly, "In the grand heavens battlefield, that is the rule. Even when 2 opposing parties form a team, they have to protect the other party well. If one of them dies, the other must come back alive to make a decision. This is the battlefield, this is war. We will never change the overall situation just because of your will alone. If you feel that something is wrong, if you are not satisfied, if you are not convinced, then you will not participate in the competition and will forfeit." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 797. Chapter 797, Chapter 200 Team Formation Success 3. This is also the main reason why the various manors, universities, and legions can cooperate and fight together on the battlefield of the heavens. Of course, there are exceptions. When your teammate is certain to die, if you go and save him, you will only be burying yourself. There is no need for that. The military does not encourage such a situation to happen. At this time, you can choose to escape and choose an opportunity to fight. Lu Hong smiled and said, "Today, I will let you try out the military's rules. It will also help you to survive in the heavenly battlefield in the future and increase your experience points." 8,300 people, 1,666 teams. In the end, only one team can stand at the end and take these 5 spots. As soon as these words were said, a clamor erupted. This was too much. 5 spots, and only one team was given. Lu Hong pressed his hand, he shouted, "Silence." Although there weren't any spots, the top 10 teams all had other rewards. Second place, 1 Book of the Will of the Shanghai Realm. Third place, 1 Earth Rank Martial Skill. 4 to 10 places, 1 Book of the Will of the Soaring Realm of the Wanwen Jing. The moment these words were said, many people felt a little more at ease. Luckily, the rewards were pretty good. The words of the will of the Shanghai realm, earth rank martial skills, and the words of the will of the Wan Jing were all good things. This way, the chances were even greater. After all, there were a total of 50 people who could get it. When Lu Hong saw that everyone was satisfied, he smiled and said, "As long as everyone is satisfied." The reason why the Divine Literature Academy took the initiative to take out such an expensive reward this time is to let everyone display better and stronger strength. Let's strive to enter the sky as soon as possible and serve the human race. After exchanging pleasantries for a while, Lu Hong gestured with his hand, and a huge machine was carried up. "Everyone, come up and draw lots. There are a total of 8,300 number plates, ranging from 1 to 1666. There are 5 number plates for each number plate. Those who draw 5 numbers with the same number plate will be their teammates. Regardless of whether it's in the academy, on the battlefield, or anywhere else, luck is a part of strength. Don't think that luck is illusory. Some races specialize in the path of luck. This exists." Lu Hong said in a clear voice, "If you've drawn a weak teammate, don't be displeased. Everyone has their own role to play. If you've drawn a strong one, don't be excited. Think about how you're dragging others down. Will others hold a grudge against you? Show your strength." As he said this, a Lingyun realm cultivator from the inspector's office went up to the stage. He walked to the machine and used his willpower to investigate. He shook his head in the direction of the spectating area and found nothing unusual. In the viewing area, Elder Huang was seated, and there were many people present. Chen Yong had arrived, and Zhao Li had arrived. There were not many Shanghai realm cultivators, only a few of them. However, there were many Lingyun realm cultivators. When Elder Huang saw this, he did not make a sound. There was nothing unusual. Since that was the case, he had nothing to say. On the stage, Lu Hong revealed a smile. "What investigation? I am a good person, why would I do such a thing? Tampering with the machine is too low end. I've never done such a thing. The one who drew the lots is a person, so of course I tampered with the person. It's one thing for you to check the machine, but can you check all the students one by one? More importantly, the students aren't willing to be investigated by you. Go on stage, draw lots." Lu Hong shouted, and the students rushed onto the stage one by one and started to draw lots. Although there were many people, it wasn't chaotic. It was the same whether it was drawn early or late. Civilized teachers were more or less decent. Below the stage, Suyu mixed in with the crowd and sighed. When he saw some white-haired old men competing with a group of youths on the stage, he couldn't help but sigh. He couldn't help but think of his own father. His father was almost 50 years old. If he were to be thrown into the civilized university, that would be a miserable life. It was too miserable. He had only entered 10,000 stones and was almost 50 years old. He was still a very weak 10,000 stones. He was probably not a match for some people in the Thousand June realm. How miserable. He felt the same way. These old men and women were so miserable. If he were to meet them later, he would quickly defeat them. He didn't want them to fight for too long. It was too torturous. One by one, the students went onto the stage, drew lots, and received number tags. Some people looked around, wanting to know where their teammates were. Some people stared at some of the strong students in the crowd, wanting to know what their numbers were. This competition was indeed very interesting. Just guessing one's teammates was a gamble and a stroke of luck. The students were very fast. In the blink of an eye, more than 1,000 people went on stage. Very soon, Lin Yao and Yang Sha went on stage together in the crowd. Yang Sha glanced at Lin Yao. He somewhat understood what his junior brother had said earlier. In a 5-person competition, a few strong people in his team would naturally have a chance of getting a spot. Could it be, that John Hai would be on the same team as him? Or would it be some veteran students? How did his junior brother know? And how could he guarantee that he would be assigned to the same team? As he was thinking about something, he didn't think too much and reached his hand into the machine. There was no problem with the machine, but there were some students who had some problems. Yang Sha himself didn't know the situation, so he just casually grabbed a number plate and got it. Number 600. At the side, Lin Yao also grabbed a number plate and took it out to take a look. It was also number 600. The two of them looked at each other in astonishment. They had really been allocated a team. At the side, Lu Hong cursed in his heart. These two fools, why aren't they getting off the stage yet? What are they standing here for? Below the stage, Elder Huang had been paying attention to the situation. At this moment, his eyes flickered as he looked at Elder Sunday. Elder Sun didn't make a sound, or did he make a sound? Elder Huang frowned. These two fellows seemed to have some kind of aura that flashed past their bodies just now. They had attracted the number plate and not caught it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 798. Chapter 798, Chapter 200. Team Formation Successful 4. Elder Huang's expression changed slightly as he used his willpower to probe in that direction. Elder Sun said calmly, "Old Huang, don't randomly probe the students. This isn't appropriate. You." Elder Huang's expression didn't look too good. He couldn't help but curse inwardly. Divine runes alone weren't good, but there were quite a few tricks up his sleeve. There were probably quite a few people who had such a situation. Damn bastard. As for the evidence, it was hard to say whether they would be able to catch them. Unless they were able to forcefully capture some of the students and examine their auras to identify the different auras, it would be a waste of time and effort. On top of that, the other party could easily deny it. If they were to really investigate, it wasn't that they wouldn't be able to find anything. However, if they were to continue investigating, what would happen in the end? Would the competition be cancelled? Elder Huang suppressed the rage in his heart. He wanted to see if there were any students who would complain about the matter, so he could take this opportunity to investigate the matter. He looked at Su Yu in the crowd. Were these guys targeting Su Yu? Or were they just targeting those spots? As expected, following that, a few more students had abnormal auras. Elder Huang looked at Elder Sun again and snorted coldly, "Is it necessary to do this for a few spots? If you really don't want to give them up, then don't agree to this matter." Elder Sun said indifferently, "Old Huang, although you are the Dean of the Inspector General's office, don't talk nonsense. Moreover, wasn't it you people who forced us to give out these spots that day? We opened our mystic realm, and a group of people were jealous. They insisted that we give up the spots. Is this fair? Old Huang, think about it yourself." Elder Huang was speechless. This matter was indeed not fair. The opening of the mystic realm in the Divine Language Department was also done with money and resources. The other elders had their own thoughts when they opened the meeting of the elders. Everyone knew about these matters. At this moment, even if there were a few pavilion elders present, they probably wouldn't make a sound. Elder Huang sighed in his heart and didn't speak again. At this moment, a person stepped onto the stage, and the surrounding students dispersed. Zhan Hai. He should have a spot, but he still came. Shameless. Damn it, this guy can even enter the sky without entering the mystical realm, right? He wants to snatch it from us. What number is Zhan Hai? The students were in an uproar. Zhan Hai was the number 1 on the top 100 list. He was at the peak of the 9,000 stone realm and the peak of the recuperation realm. For a student like him, even if he didn't enter the secret realm, he would still be able to soar into the sky. Zhan Hai didn't care about those people. He casually took out a number plate, looked at it, and said indifferently, "Number 988, my teammate, come and find me later. Below the stage, there was suddenly an extremely surprised cheer. Obviously, someone was number 988, and Zhanhai's team. Zhanhai went up the stage, and the experts began to step onto the stage one after another. Jiang Mu, Li Minyu, Dai Qing, Hu Zhongyu, Lin Qing, Lu He, Wang Peng. One by one, the familiar top 100 students began to step onto the stage to draw lots. Some people chose to participate even if they got a spot. The Divine Literature department didn't say that they couldn't come just because they got it. With one more spot, one more person would be able to enter. This would increase the strength of one's own people. After many people had gone up to the stage, Suyu also walked up to the stage. He was very low-key. However, when he went up to the stage, the surroundings quieted down for a moment. Below the stage, whispers could be heard. Suyu has also come. He's too bold. This is a competition organized by the Single Divine One faction. Isn't he afraid that the Single Divine One faction will join forces to deal with him? That's right. This is a 5-man team battle. It's not just one person. If the 5 experts from the Single Divine One faction were to be matched together, and this guy's teammate is weak, it would be over. Suyu's appearance on the stage attracted the attention of many people. Suyu did not say anything. He silently went forward and grabbed towards the machine. Just as he reached his hand into the machine, a number plate appeared in his hand. Suyu glanced at Lu Hong, smiled, and did not say anything. He directly left the stage. This fellow, did he do something to me the last time he met me? I'll have to be more careful next time. He silently sensed it, number 600. Just as he was thinking, Suyu suddenly saw someone and hurriedly shouted, "Senior sister, you." Wuxia quickly finished drawing the number plate. He said awkwardly, "I'm just here to have some fun. Don't worry, if I can't beat them, I'll admit defeat. If I don't cause trouble, I just don't want to give them a good time. When I meet a few Single Divine Script bastards, I'll beat them to death." Suyu was speechless. "Why did you come here?" He turned his head to look at Chen Yong. Chen Yong smiled but didn't say anything. It wasn't bad to participate in a competition. He could treat it as an experience. The prerequisite was not to be stupid and fight to the death. This was also a rare opportunity. Just as Lu Hong had said, the heavenly battlefield was such a rule. It was not bad to get used to it in the academy. In the future, if you really went to the heavenly battlefield, at least you would know that you would cooperate with others and not fight alone. You could experience the feeling of having a pig teammate. Otherwise, if you really went to the battlefield and met a pig teammate, you would be angered to death. Now that you had met him, you could still be a little prepared in the future. The strength of the top 70 of the top 100 was not considered weak. Of these 8,000 people, only those 100 or so people had the confidence to beat Wu Jiao. Suyu was helpless and did not say anything else. After getting off the stage with Wu Jia said happily, "I'm number 888. Is this number alright? Junior brother, what about you?" Suyu suddenly laughed and said softly, "Senior sister, do you think anyone knows that we are changing the number plates now?" As he was speaking, someone squeezed in from the side. He said gloomily, "Don't mention it. We can't change it. I was just about to buy a few hundred number plates and sell them to people who need them. In the end, I just bought one and was caught by the people from the Inspector General's office. They fined me 100 merit points. How black-hearted." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 799. Chapter 799, Chapter 200, Team Formation Successful 5. Suyu looked at Xia Huyo and was a little speechless. "You're really good. You can even think of doing business with me. You didn't participate in the competition?" "No. Isn't fighting tiring?" Xia Huyo said matter-of-factly, I'm a businessman. We can get rich together and live together peacefully. Fighting isn't something I want. It's just one spot. Besides, if I already have it, why would I still fight? You already have it? That's right. Xia Huyo laughed heartily and said, guess who I asked for it from? Who? Manor head Xia Chongqing. Xia Huyo laughed complacently. I went straight to his door to ask for it. They're all members of the Xia family. It wouldn't make sense if they didn't give it to me. Needless to say, I really did get one. I didn't even need to spend a single cent. It's so comfortable. So you didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It made sense. Xia Huyo had personally gone to look for Xia Chongqing, so how could Xia Chongqing not give it to him? Most people didn't know about Xia Huyo's identity, so how could Xia Chongqing not know? If he didn't give it to him, then it would be hard to explain. This little fatty could also disgust people. Xia Chongqing was obviously unwilling to give it to him. His grandson, Xia Yuan, was still preparing to compete with Xia Huyo for the position of manor head. After saying that, Xia Huyo smiled and said, are you going to buy some information? I'll tell you which experts are in the team. I've just collected a lot of information. Is there a strong team in the single Divine One department? Su Yu did not care about the others. He only cared about the single Divine One department. Yes. Xia Huyo whispered, there really is a strong team. Zhou Pingsheng's 2 disciples were among them. They were both over 30 years old. They had not been promoted to the top 100 before. They were also old students on the top 100. The other 3 people had similar identities. One of them was Zheng Yuming's elder student. The other 2, Elder Yu and Elder Li, both had a student among them. When Wuxia heard this, she couldn't help but say, this isn't cheating. Su Yu coughed lightly and said with a smile, senior sister, the competition organized by them is normal. There's no need to say such things. Wuxia was still indignant. Too shameless. Xia Huyo also didn't mind, he said with a smile, they're very strong. The 5 of them are all veteran top 100 students. Their martial techniques, cultivation techniques, physical bodies, willpower, and divine writings have all reached a limit. To be honest, with the 5 of them working together, they can definitely fight against soaring in the sky. For such a 5-person team, it was not too difficult to fight against one of them. Of course, they had to coordinate well. Otherwise, they would be easily defeated one by one. Apart from them, there's also Zhan Hai's team and Jiang Mu's team. Anyway, the teams formed by the top 10 students in the top 100 are all very threatening. Oh right, there are also a few strong teams among the old students. Su Yu nodded. Did Zhai Feng and the others participate in the competition? No. Xia Huyo shook his head, they went out and are not in the academy. I guess they went to find trouble with the Myriad clan cult and use their merit as punishment to solve the problem of not being able to enter the mystic realm. If nothing goes wrong, they will come back very soon. They have to destroy at least 1 or 2 strongholds of the Myriad clan cult. Su Yu frowned. Did they cooperate? That's not necessary. Xia Huyo explained, in fact, we have some strongholds. However, we have been letting them do whatever they want to catch big fish. However, we have been secretly monitoring them. There are many experts in the divine language department and many people. They must know the location of some strongholds. Therefore, it is normal for them to find something when they go out. If we really want to cooperate, we wouldn't dare to be so bold and just let our students do this. Fishing. This Su Yu understood. It made sense. The Great Xia Manor probably had many strongholds of the 10,000 races. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a time when they wanted to make the other party take the blame. With a wave of their hands, the dragon martial guards could exterminate a group of people, they would kill until their heads rolled off. It was the same last time. First, they threw the blame to the original cult master, then beheaded the Blood Fire cult master. Then, the Dragon Martial Guards went out to wipe out a group of the 10,000 races cult members. The great Xia Manor seemed to be very familiar with this process. What a pity. Su Yu sighed. I'm too sad that these guys aren't participating in the competition. Otherwise, if I meet them, I'll teach them a lesson. How comfortable would that be? As they spoke, the lot drawing was almost done. Lu Hong shouted, now, I'll give you half an hour to find your teammates. 1,666 teams. Everyone, find your teammates and look at the situation. If you can't do it, then give up. Or you can go up on stage and spar with them. Pay attention to the rational allocation of your energy. This competition isn't one match. You were crippled in the first match. You won't be able to advance to the next round. Don't struggle needlessly. Based on the number of people and the number of people, if the competition were to go on one round at a time, it would take at least 10 rounds to win first place. Fighting 10 matches in a row was a huge test for any team. Su Yu didn't care what he said. He smiled and shouted, number 600, gather. His voice wasn't soft. As soon as he said this, many people noticed him. A few people in the crowd had strange expressions on their faces. Lu He held the sign in his hand and could not help but curse in a low voice. F***CK. Why am I on the same team as this guy? On the other side, Yang Sha was stunned. Su Yu. He was on the same team as Su Yu. Looking at Lin Yao was not surprised. He said in a low voice, Senior brother, this is an opportunity. He is very strong. Yang Sha wanted to curse. Of course, I know that he is strong, but Su Yu isn't even as strong as Zhai Feng. More importantly, we are enemies, do you know that? Expecting Su Yu to kill his way into first place. Are you kidding me? Don't tell me that I have to cooperate with Su Yu and beat up others. Then, how am I going to explain this to teacher? In the distance, Zhou Hao's lips parted into a smile. He didn't go over and just waited on the spot. He glanced at the few experts in the distance, such as Zhan Hai and Jiang Mu. Were these guys his next opponents? What an excited feeling. As for bringing 3 pig-like teammates, he didn't care at all. As long as Su Yu was strong enough. It didn't matter if he had more pig-like teammates. He never expected others to be able to help him. As for Su Yu, that was Su Yu who came to find him. Otherwise, he wouldn't care who his teammates were. Lu He, this top 100 student with a decent ranking, wasn't in Zhou Hao's eyes at the moment. Although he was only at the critical juncture, he wasn't too interested in these fellows who didn't even have the slightest hint of blood. One team after another quickly gathered together. Number 888. Someone shouted from the other side. Wuxia hurriedly ran over. Su Yu glanced over and was a little surprised. It was actually a rather strong team. He saw a few top 100 students over there. He didn't have time to care about that side. Soon, Su Yu's side had a few more people. Lu He's gaze was unfriendly, Yang Sha was unwilling, and Lin Yao also pretended to be angry. They all looked at Su Yu. Su Yu completely ignored them and said indifferently, during the battle, the few of you stand aside. Don't get in the way. You. Lu He was furious. He was a top 100 student after all. Su Yu's words were too discouraging. Su Yu ignored him. At this moment, people were looking at him from all directions. When they saw the people around him, they almost laughed out loud. Lu He, Lin Yao, Yang Sha, and a new student, Xia Huyo. This was Su Yu's team. How could they fight like this? Xia Huyo was being stared at by many people. He didn't care. I just came to take a look. Why are you looking at me? It's not me. However, Su Yu's team was really a scam. Even the Divine Inscriptions department could really think of it. Lu He's strength wasn't bad, but would this fellow contribute? In the viewing area, Pavilion Master Sun and the other Lingyun realm experts were all full of smiles as they looked at Lu Hong on the stage. Well done. If Su Yu really took this spot, that would be a disgrace. With this team configuration, Su Yu could get a spot. What are you thinking? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 800. Chapter 800, Chapter 201, The Reliable Lu Hong won. There was obviously a problem with Su Yu's teammate match. At this moment, the other students did not say anything. On the stage, an inspector from the inspectorate suddenly shouted, "Do any of the students have any doubts or other questions regarding their teammate match?" Many people looked at Su Yu. The inspectorate obviously also discovered a problem. Su Yu had a smile on his face. Seeing that quite a number of people were looking at him, he replied, "No, the lots have already been drawn. The competition is about to start, so I won't raise any doubts. I don't want some people to directly cancel the competition. That would delay many seniors." Su Yu spoke indifferently and directly. "I don't have any doubts. That's because it was a competition organized by the Single God Language Department. If the Single God Language Department were to shamelessly cancel the competition, it would delay many other students." When these words were said, many people heaved a sigh of relief. This was for the best. Some of the students allocated were quite good. Their teammates were all quite strong. Su Yu's side was obviously problematic. If the inspectors were to really intervene in the investigation, who knew if they would directly cancel the competition? Obviously, this was also a situation that Lu Hong had expected. If the inspectors really wanted to investigate, then they would cancel the competition and shift the pressure onto Su Yu. On the side of the inspectorate, the inspectors did not speak anymore. Other than Su Yu, almost no one spoke. It did not matter if they were lucky or not. Just as Su Yu had said, if they raised their doubts at this moment and delayed everyone's competition, they would incur the wrath of the public. On the stage, Lu Hong smiled faintly and said, "Since everyone has no objections, then what we need to do now is to quickly familiarize ourselves with our teammates. On the battlefield, the most important thing is to familiarize ourselves with our teammates as soon as possible. We need to understand the battle methods that each of us is good at and make a good overall plan. We need to decide who is suitable to do what and who is the team leader during the battle. All of you need to do it yourselves." Su Yu ignored Lu Hong. Lu He and the others looked at Su Yu with cold faces. After a long while, Lu He said coldly, "Su Yu, I'm afraid we won't be able to get the spot. But with our strength, there's still hope for us to enter the top 10. Su Yu looked at him and said with a faint smile, "Senior Lu, do you mean that you're willing to cooperate?" Lu He frowned. He glanced at Lu Hong on the stage and fell into a struggle. Cooperation. Big Brother and Shan Shenwen had arranged for him to join Su Yu's team. It was obvious that they were deliberately dragging him down. If they were to cooperate, what would Big Brother and the others think? After a moment of silence, Lu He said, "I think that as a genius, we should show our own style and strength. Let people see that our Shan Shenwen faction should have a bearing that is no less than anyone else's. Lin Yao and Yang Sha are weak, but I'm not weak." Su Yu chuckled and said, "Senior Lu, do you mean that you're willing to fight?" Su Yu said playfully, "The few of you are matched with me. I think you're not stupid. You all know what you need to do." Lu He became more and more depressed and said coldly, "We're fighting for ourselves, not for others. Once we're in the arena, there will only be enemies and our own people." "I hope so." Su Yu smiled faintly and said, "Then let's follow Senior Lu." Lu He could not help but say, "You are the strongest. Aren't you going to make some arrangements?" He still wanted to fight a few rounds. Even if they could not fight to the first place, in their team, Suyu had the strength of the top 20, and he himself was also in the top 70 or 80. In addition, Yang Sha was also close to the top 100. Lin Yao was weak, and Xia Hu was hard to say. With such a configuration, it was not difficult to beat some weak teams. In the entire academy, there were only 100 people on the top 100 list. As for those old students, there were many strong ones, but those who were truly talented had advanced long ago. Now, the remaining peak of recuperation only had around 100 people. There were also students from thousands of races mixed in. If they formed a team, their combined strength should be able to enter the top 50. After all, there were quite a few top 100 students in this team. Arrangements? Suyu chuckled and said, "Sure, since we have to make arrangements, then I'll give you an arrangement. The three of you have a very simple goal. Keep an eye on the weakest person in the opponent's team. If you win or lose, it's up to you." Lu He was a little angry. Yang Sha was also a little angry and said, "Out of the three of us, Lu He is a true top 100 student. I've also challenged top 100 students before. You want the three of us to join hands to deal with a student who might not even make it into the top 100? Suyu said indifferently, "Senior brother Yang, what do you think? Will your single divine literature department allow me to enter the finals?" The few of them did not say anything. After a long while, Lin Yao said, "Suyu, how about this? If we meet a student who is not a single divine literature department student, we will do our best. As for meeting a single divine literature department student," Lu He snorted and said, "then we will do our best. Suyu, don't think that all the single divine literature department students are targeting you. Who has the time to bother with you? Other than the main department, the others simply can't be bothered with you." The so-called main department was referring to Zhou Mingren's department. Suyu didn't care what he said, he smiled and said, "Then that's it. If the few of you are willing to contribute, then so be it. It doesn't matter if you aren't. I won't force you. Otherwise, you will be ostracized by the single divine literature department. It's fine if you lose, but once I win, the few of you will contribute a lot. Hee. I think the few of you will have a hard time in the future." Suyu had a playful look on his face. Lu He didn't take it seriously. "Win my ass. Forget it." It was normal for Suyu to be worried about them. There was nothing much to say, so he didn't want to say any more. Let's wait until they were on stage. After a while, on stage, Lu Hong shouted again, "It's almost time. There are more people in today's match, so let's end it quickly. There are 20 stages, and each time, 40 teams will go on stage. After 40 matches, the first round will be almost over. The winner will stay, and the loser will be eliminated." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 801. Chapter 801, Chapter 201, The Reliable Lu Hong 2. 40 matches. Each match would last for at least 3 to 4 minutes, and the first round would last for more than 2 hours. The crowd didn't have any objections either. It was fine to spend a little more time. If they expended too much energy in the beginning, they would be able to recover their strength in the future, preventing their condition from deteriorating due to the continuous battles. The battles are also very simple. Team 1 versus Team 2, and so on. For the first match, the top 40 teams will go up on stage. Below the stage, teams quickly went up onto the stage according to the serial numbers. The judges of the tribunal took their positions. Suyu took a brief look. There were a few strong teams in the top 40 teams. Any team that had top 100 students or students at the peak of recuperation were considered strong teams. On the side, Xia Huyo was even more curious about who Su Yu's last team member was. Everyone thought it was him, he was too lazy to explain, and everyone thought it was them. Suyu definitely knew it wasn't him. This guy didn't even ask, could it be that he knew who it was? He didn't ask either. He glanced at the 40 teams on stage and quickly said, Team 16 should be the strongest. 3 of them are strong, and 2 of them are in the top 100. One of them is a veteran in the top 100, but he's older than his age. A team with 3 members in the top 100 was indeed very strong. The match began just like that. It was very straightforward and very fast. As the referee gave the order, booming sounds continued and shouts continued. At this moment, the gap between the top 100 and non-top 100 students could be clearly seen. The Team 16 that Xia Huyo mentioned had crushed their opponents in an instant. 3 students with the strength of the top 100 were fighting against 1 person each. At the beginning of the competition in the other arenas, their opponents were defeated in the blink of an eye. Some of the recuperating students simply did not possess strong combat strength. Unlike fighters, even if a fighter was 1,000 tons, their combat strength would not be too weak. However, there were civilized masters. Some of them did not even have any divine runes and had almost no means to fight. For such people to participate in the competition, it could only be said that they were just here to join in the fun. Rumble. A series of rumbling sounds rang out. On stage 8, the battle between Team 15 and Team 16 had come to an end. In the blink of an eye, the 5 people from Team 15 fell off the stage. Team 16 wins. The referee quickly gave the result. On stage 1, the referee shouted, Team 1 wins. Only then did Suyu shift his gaze to that side. He was a little surprised. It was very fast. Xia Huyo also said in surprise, the students from the sealing department are quite strong. They directly sealed all of their opponents. The 5 of them were completely suppressed. They're quite strong. Suyu, be careful. Suyu didn't say anything. Both sides had ended, and another team had ended. Accompanied by a huge roar, an incomparably huge demonic beast suddenly appeared on stage 6. Bang bang bang. The demonic beast that looked like a leopard was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had knocked down the 5 people on the stage. A beast tamer student. Moreover, it has outlined the space of the demonic beast. It's a character. Suyu suddenly said, a beast tamer student. Don't tell me that it's possible to bring a soaring demonic beast into battle. Xia Huyo glanced at him, speechless. He said, what are you thinking about? You have to tame it yourself. Moreover, only beast tamer students are allowed to bring beasts to battle. The so-called beast tamer class is a class that can accept beasts as mounts. Do you think that beasts that are too strong can be accepted into the divine runes? Xia Huyo quickly said, those who do not outline the space of the beasts are not considered beast tamer students. They can only be considered as reserve students. Do you understand? Suyu nodded slightly and looked at the team. Beast tamer students. This was the first time he had encountered a student who used a demonic beast to participate in a battle. Suyu took a look and recognized the leopard. It was a wind leopard. It was not considered to be a very strong race. The main thing was its speed. This was also the first choice of many students. It had the strength of about 5th or 6th layer of 10,000 stones. It could already be considered to be very strong. There were many teams, and Suyu was dazzled by what he saw. He felt that he had gained a lot of experience. He saw the Divine Talisman Department student and directly threw out some divine talismans. A quagmire appeared out of thin air on the ground, directly trapping the opponents into the quagmire. The other teammates cooperated and instantly defeated the opponent. He saw the Divine Pill Department student throw out a poison pill. In the blink of an eye, the opponents were all knocked down, and even his own teammates were knocked down. Fatty. Cough cough, Huyu, does the Divine Pill Department count? If they ask some elders for some poison that can poison mountains and seas, won't they be unable to fight? Xia Huyu asked curiously, aren't you very familiar with the Academy's rules? Why don't you know about this? There are rules in the top 100 matches, but the key thing is, fooling around. Who knows what's going on? The rules are all new. Su Yu was also speechless. How would I know? As for whether or not Xia Huyo would know, I probably wouldn't know either. Sure enough, Xia Huyo shrugged. How would I know how they arranged it? Fortunately, the inspectors seemed to have quickly figured out the situation. He shouted, beast tamer students can only bring their own tamed demon beasts. Divine pill students can only use the pills they refine. Divine talisman students are the same. Su Yu couldn't be bothered to complain. This was also good. Otherwise, if he got a mountain and sea poison pill, he wouldn't be able to fight. If a student had the ability to refine a mountain and sea poison pill, then he wouldn't be a student anymore. Follow-up teams, follow the number plate and continue to go on stage. Once the first stage is over, immediately go on stage. The referee shouted. The battle speed of each team was different. It was impossible for one team to delay the entire competition. There were still a few strong teams among the 40 teams in the first round. However, at this time, the gap was quite big. Strong teams versus weak teams, it was almost as easy as crushing a dead branch. There was nothing to see. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 802. Chapter 802, Chapter 201, The Reliable Lu Hong 3. Those with similar strength were all weak teams. Teams after teams of students stepped onto the stage. The winners advanced, while the losers were disappointed. The gap was too big. As long as a team had top 100 students, they would almost always win. One versus a few, they would be suppressing them. The gap was very obvious. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. The speed was faster than expected. At this moment, it was already number 590 stepping onto the stage. In half an hour, the 295 teams had decided the victor. If this went on, the first round would end in about 2.5 hours. And at this moment, it was almost Su Yu's turn. At this moment, the referee shouted, Stage 8, Stage 593, Stage 594. When the two teams went on stage, many people exclaimed in low voices. It was time for the strong Jiang Mu, the third-ranked student of the top 100. He was also the first top 100 student Su Yu had met after he had entered the academy. He still remembered the scene from that day. The captain of the guards of the nature garden had made way for him. How awe-inspiring. When Jiang Mu stepped onto the stage, the result was fated. In the blink of an eye, Su Yu's speed was so fast that only afterimages were left behind. With a few bangs, his opponents all fell off the stage. His teammates did not even make a move, and the battle ended. Jiang Mu walked down the stage with an indifferent expression. He did not say anything. He even felt that he had only gone up the stage for a casual turn, and the match was over. Number 599, number 600, step onto the stage. When he shouted number 600, he once again attracted the attention of many people. They had heard before that Su Yu's team was number 600. Su Yu did not say much and walked straight up to the stage. Lin Yao and the others also followed. Lin Yao suddenly turned his head to look at Xia Huyo, who was still eating. He could not help but say, "What are you doing? Get on stage." Xia Huyo looked at him as if he was a fool. "Nonsense, I'm not one of your team members. Why am I going on stage?" "You." Lin Yao was just about to speak when another person had already jumped onto the stage. Zhou Hao. When Zhou Hao stepped onto the stage, many people were surprised. This guy, although he had only made a move once, many people knew how strong he was. Was this guy number 599? But very quickly, when the 5 people from number 599 all stepped onto the stage, everyone was shocked. F***ck, this guy was from Su Yu's team. What the F***ck? Where's Xia Huyo? Many people looked at Xia Huyo. Xia Huyo continued eating his food. Why are you looking at me? I didn't say that I'm number 600. In the viewing area. Pavilion Master Sun was slightly surprised. He looked at Lu Hong, who had just left the stage, and sent a voice transmission. How did you arrange for him to be in Su Yu's team? Zhou Hao was very strong. The key wasn't just the people from the Divine Literature Department. Lu Hong sent a voice transmission and explained, Xia Yuan and the others want to get a spot, but Zhou Hao arranged for another team. It's really possible that they can get it. I'm not thinking that Zhou Hao and Su Yu aren't on good terms. If we let them be in a team, we can directly kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We can get them all down to prevent outsiders from getting a spot. Pavilion Master Sun frowned. This Zhou Hao isn't weak. Once he works with Su Yu. He was almost beaten to death by Su Yu last time. Lu Hong said with a voice transmission, Elder Sun, even if Zhou Hao really works with Su Yu, he won't be able to win. Moreover, he's Xia Yuan's disciple. Xia Yuan was almost crippled by Bai Feng, and his student worked with Su Yu in the blink of an eye. With Xia Yuan's character, he will definitely find trouble with Zhou Hao. And if Zhou Hao works with Su Yu, with the character of the many divine languages, those who help themselves will be on the same side. When that time comes, I'm afraid that we'll have to interfere with Xia Yuan's internal affairs and make their conflict worse. Pavilion Master Sun's eyes flickered as he glanced at Lu Hong. Lu Hong transmitted his voice, Elder Sun, I don't think it's a good idea for Principal Zhou and Xia Yuan to work together. After all, there are differences in intimacy. The manor head has a son, but it's not like he doesn't have a son. It's not up to him to decide when the manor head wants to abdicate. I think it's too dangerous for us to interfere in the fight for the manor head of the Xia family. Even if we take Xia Chan under our wing, it's still the same. Since that's the case, it's better to let the other Divine One faction fight with them. Pavilion Master Sun nodded slightly. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly looked towards the stage. Bang! A loud sound rang out. On Su Yu's side, Su Yu directly attacked in an instant, leaving behind afterimages. He kicked out, leaving behind dozens of afterimages. Even if the 5 people on the opposite side were scattered, in an instant, all 5 of them fell off the stage. Pavilion Master Sun frowned and transmitted his voice, this fellow has become stronger again. The polytheistic literature faction, indeed has produced a genius. As he said that, he thought for a moment and said, arrange a few strong teams to clash in the next round. Don't be too conspicuous and slowly weaken Su Yu. When he's almost exhausted, let little Zhou's students go up, and cripple Su Yu. Lu Hong looked at him and nodded slightly. Of course, Elder Sun also wanted to cripple Su Yu. This had nothing to do with Su Yu and was to vent his anger. Bai Feng had killed one of his Lingyun realm students, and Elder Sun still hadn't vented his anger. In the arena, Su Yu was straightforward and didn't bother to delay. It was only the first round, and against a few weaklings, did he really have to hide his strength? Then he would really be a pig. After defeating the 5 opponents in one blow, Su Yu cupped his hands and walked down the stage. This time, Zhou Hao came along. Lin Yao and the others were in a daze. It wasn't strange to win, but the key was that Zhou Hao was their teammate. F***ck. Xia Huyo, that be starred. He had stood beside them for so long, yet he didn't say anything. They even had to talk to Xia Huyo for a while. Lu He looked at Zhou Hao and frowned slightly. However, Zhou Hao didn't even look at him. Instead, he kept his eyes on the experts in the arena. In the first round, no strong teams met. In the only round, the two top 100 students each led a team to meet. The two top 100 students fought intensely, and it could be considered as a small peak. The battle lasted for 7 to 8 minutes before the victor was decided. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 803. Chapter 803, Chapter 201, The Reliable Lu Hong 4. Along the way, a few cloaked students joined the battle. Suyu didn't pay much attention to them. They were probably from the myriad races, but they didn't show their faces. They wore cloaks to fight, so he couldn't tell much from the usual way they fought. Soon, they arrived at number 888. Wuxia's team. Suyu glanced at them and lost interest. Wuxia's luck seemed to be pretty good. She was actually assigned to Li Mingyu's team. Li Mingyu was ranked 5th in the top 100. She was very strong. Wuxia wasn't weak either. She was also a student in the top 100. It seemed like Lu Hong wasn't targeting Wuxia. This team's strength wasn't bad. They even had a chance of making it into the top 5. It was unknown whether it was because they were afraid of Chen Yong or something else. In any case, Lu Hong shouldn't have made any underhanded moves. The 5th place in the top 100 was easily defeated by those students who weren't in the top 100. They won in the blink of an eye. The disparity between the students was vividly displayed at this moment. Just as the first round of the competition continued. Below the stage. A 5-man team. Jia Mingzhen chuckled and transmitted his voice, "Guys, do you want to take first place later? Lao Wan wants us to stimulate the students. Now, there's no need to stimulate them at all. Each and every one of them is like a mad dog, howling. Do they still need us to make a move?" 5 pavilion elders. All of them were in the same team. It was not luck, nor was it a coincidence. It was just cheating. Even if Pavilion Elder Sun was watching from below, they had also openly cheated. 1 against 5, what the F***ck did you see? Lao Jia, don't just play. In the crowd, the only female Pavilion Elder said telepathically, "The 5 of us are pretending to be freshmen, not to play. How can we have so much time to play with the students? How's the progress on your side?" Jia Mingzhen replied telepathically, "What's the rush? I realized that we had made a mistake. We shouldn't have pretended to be the students of the Pavilion Elder. With the Pavilion Elder as a teacher, some people became wary of us. However, it doesn't matter. Recently, I've been selling some of the Pavilion Elder's private collections in the black market. I've been very secretive and made a fortune. Soon, someone will discover it. As long as I throw out enough evidence, sooner or later, someone will come looking for me. This method is not bad. Then you take your time. The few of us have also discovered something." As she spoke, the female Pavilion Elder transmitted her voice, "The Myriad Clan religion actually has an order to kill Suyu. The price is not small. Why don't the few of us get Suyu out of the academy and use him as bait to try fishing?" Jia Mingzhen glanced at the few of them, "All of you are quite black-hearted. I actually think that being bait is meaningless. Why don't we force Suyu to turn against us? Let him join the Myriad Clan sect. With his talent, he will definitely be valued by the Myriad Clan sect. He might even attract the attention of some mountains, seas, and even the sun and moon. You guys." The few of them were speechless. He still had the nerve to talk about us. Jia Mingzhen was not joking, he transmitted his voice, "I'm serious. Of course, Suyu has a lot of people watching him. Actually, I think we can let Huang Qifeng and the others join the Myriad Clan sect. What do you think? How about some heavyweights like Zhou Pingsheng?" The few of them looked at him and frowned. Jia Mingzhen explained, "These guys are now filled with resentment. The people of the Myriad Clan Church also know that I suspect that someone has secretly tried to rope them in. Old Jia, regardless of whether or not it's true, we can't take the initiative to push the people of the Academy to the Myriad Clan Church. Your idea is very dangerous. Jia Mingjin said disapprovingly, some people in the Academy have already changed. Forget it if you guys don't agree. I feel that if this continues, it will either be the betrayal of the many divine literature departments or the betrayal of the single divine literature department. This is something that can be predicted. Jia Mingjin didn't say much. According to his judgment, if this continued, both sides would fight to the death. The side that was at a disadvantage would sooner or later collude with the Myriad Clan religion. The Myriad Clan religion had quite a few people keeping an eye on the several great academies. They chatted about them while Su Yu and the others continued their competition. There wasn't much suspense in the first round, and there weren't any dark horses. After 2.5 hours, the first round of matches ended. Out of the 1,666 teams, 833 teams remained. Lu Hong went on stage once again. He smiled and said, the first round has ended. There are still more than 800 teams left. Those who remain are the pride of the students. Congratulations, everyone. However, this is only the beginning. The battles that will follow will become more and more intense. Everyone, remember this. It is very foolish to fight to the death when you know that you are no match for them. Of course, the rules of the following battles will be even more cruel. In order to increase everyone's adaptability, we will not continue the rules of the previous round. After saying that, Lu Hong smiled and said, the second round will be a defensive battle. 20 arenas and 20 teams will go up to defend the arenas. After winning 3 consecutive battles, they will be able to advance to the third round. Those who are confident can go up to defend the arenas. Those who fail will be eliminated in one round. This way, it will also make the strong team stand out. The rounds of battles will be meaningless. Just as he finished speaking, the people from the Inspector General's office shouted, Assistant Instructor Lu, this is not fair. The maneuverability is too great. Lu Hong smiled and said, how is it not fair? We are here to pick the strongest team. If we are defeated, we will go up. What's not fair about that? Then if 3 strong teams challenge one team consecutively. Lu Hong smiled and said, then what's wrong with these 3 strong teams? Or perhaps this team isn't strong enough. If they are really strong enough, they can still win. This is a competition organized by the Academy of Divine Literature. As long as it conforms to the general direction, there shouldn't be any problems, right? As for how the students choose, that is their business. Using their brains well is also one of the duels of civilized masters. Lu Hong said calmly, for example, if anyone has the ability to send 3 strong teams to battle Zhanhai's team and exhaust their strength, this is also an ability. This is in line with the rules. A civilized master is not a fighter, why must they adhere to the rules and fight until the end? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 804. Chapter 804, Chapter 201, The Reliable Lu Hong 5. Lu Hong smiled and said, I'm also doing this for everyone's good. I'm saving everyone's time. In this way, for the winning team, each team can eliminate 3 teams. This is the fewest. At the end of this round, there will be at most about 200 teams left. If there are 2 winning teams and 1 losing team, then there will be even more teams eliminated. This will save everyone's time and allow the strong to advance quickly. As Lu Hong spoke, he smiled and said, this is also an opportunity for the weak teams. Everyone, think about it for yourselves. Who knows, there might even be a few teams that are stirring shit and want to clash with the strong. That's your chance. If they want to clash with the strong, that's because they don't have brains. It's normal for people with brains to survive until the end. This is the reality. Strength, luck, and brains are all very important. You can't lack any of them. Lu Hong said in a clear voice, as long as you seize the opportunity and use your brains, you might be able to win as long as you challenge 3 extremely weak teams in the end. This is opportunity and luck. Otherwise, think about it, do you really have a chance to win? If you don't have a chance, then why are you still participating in the competition? Are you just a foil to others and have been beaten up by others? How many people can beat John Hai and the others just by relying on their strength? Then we might as well give the spots to them. There was silence below the stage. Lu Hong smiled and said, "Are there any students who object? If not, then even if everyone has agreed to the rules. This is called fairness and justice, and not just lip service." On the side of the Inspector General's office, they quickly looked at Elder Huang. Elder Huang frowned and looked at Su Yu. Lu Hong's sudden move had a very clear target. He originally thought that this fellow would secretly cheat, but in the end, Lu Hong didn't have such thoughts at all. He didn't secretly cheat, he directly cheated on the surface. Moreover, the students probably wouldn't object. This saved time for the strong, and for the weak, there was an opportunity to speculate. It could also prevent a portion of the strong teams from encountering unexpected encounters. Elder Huang looked at Lu Hong. Lu Hong had a smile on his face, and his face was calm. Lu Hong. Elder Huang frowned and said, "Although it's a competition organized by the Academy of Divine Arts, I hope that you won't keep changing it." Lu Hong smiled and said, "Principal Huang, I'm practicing it in practice. You see, everyone is very satisfied. The rules that make everyone satisfied are the rules that are in line with human nature. It's just a competition. If it makes everyone unhappy, then what's the purpose of this competition?" Elder Huang was silent for a moment. He was very annoyed to meet a fellow like Lu Hong who didn't follow the rules. However, this fellow's decision was within the rules. After a moment of silence, Elder Huang nodded and didn't say anything else. Lu Hong smiled and said in a clear voice, "Since that's the case, the second round will be decided. Civilized teachers, use your brains. Observe who you are restraining and who you are targeting. Don't be restrained by others. You are targeted." At this moment, Su Yu said from below the stage, "Teacher, in the defensive battle, whether you cannot leave the stage after winning, or if you have won one round, you can leave the stage and choose an opportunity to fight again. Also, if you have won 2 rounds, but there are no other teams that have not participated in the 3rd round, what will you do?" Lu Hong smiled and said, "If you have won 1 round, you are not allowed to leave the stage. You will stay in the defensive battle until the end of the 3rd round. As for winning 2 rounds without anyone to challenge, how simple is that? You can pick any of the remaining teams. If you win, you will have won 3 rounds. After you win 3 matches, you will naturally be able to advance." At this moment, someone in the crowd suddenly said, "That is to say, even if you win 3 matches, you will not be able to win for sure. If there are teams that have no other teams to fight, you can still challenge these teams that have won 3 matches, right?" Lu Hong smiled and said, "To put it simply, for example, if there are 2 teams that have won 2 matches in the end, then these 2 teams will fight. So in the end, there will only be 1 team that wins 1 or 2 matches. This team will be able to challenge as they wish. They might be directly eliminated. They might even eliminate 2 teams that have won 3 matches. It's that simple. Don't say it's unfair. If you're strong enough, you can win. Then the team that won 3 matches will have to fight 1 more match." Some people questioned. Lu Hong smiled and said, "But that last team is also a fool. The weak teams in the front didn't fight and insisted on challenging the strong teams. When the time comes, they will all choose the strong teams. It would be better to find a few weak teams to fight 1 match in the beginning. It's not like anyone can take advantage of it. This time, no one asked any more questions. Lu Hong was right. In the beginning, they did not win 3 matches. In the end, when there was no one left, they would challenge a team that had 3 wins. How could there be any weaklings that could win 3 times? If there are no objections, then let's begin. Going on stage first may not necessarily be a disadvantage. Some strong people like to be the last. The later, the more difficult it will be. Lu Hong laughed and shouted, "The second round of the competition begins." Below the stage, the crowd looked at one another. Should he go up first, or wait and see? As for Su Yu, he couldn't be bothered to say anything as he walked straight up to the stage. If he were to finish the battle first, he would still have time to recover his strength. If the other party wanted to target him, it was only a matter of time. There was no need to wait. The faces of Lu He and the others changed slightly. As expected, this fellow didn't play by the rules. How could a strong team go up right from the start? The others, including Zhan Hai and the others, were all watching from the sidelines. If they went on stage first, it would be very easy for others to target them. Was Su Yu confident or stupid? At the very least, he had to wait for experts like Zhan Hai and the others to win 3 rounds before making a decision. This way, he could avoid fighting with these strong teams. There were quite a number of people with such thoughts. But in the end, Su Yu was the first to go on stage. Su Yu didn't care about them and directly walked onto the stage. Looking down, he smiled and said, "We'll throw the brick to attract the jade. Those who want to challenge can go on stage." It's easy to talk about a normal spar, but deliberately targeting, that's hard to say. After saying that, his gaze turned to a team in the crowd. The strongest team in the single divine literature department. Zhou Pingsheng and Zheng Yuming students were among them. At this moment, the 4 sides were very quiet. Many people looked at the team formed by the single divine literature department students. Would these people go up the stage? Or would they wait for Su Yu and the others to fight 2 rounds before going up the stage? The others weren't stupid either. At this moment, they weren't willing to be the pathfinder for the monotheistic department to test Su Yu and the others' strength and exhaust their strength. Therefore, the biggest possibility for Su Yu and the others was that they would encounter 3 teams formed by the monotheistic department students. In the spectator area, Elder Sun's lips moved slightly as he quickly transmitted his voice. Under the situation where several teams were monotheistic department students, if they didn't go on stage now, what time would they wait? This was the best opportunity to get rid of Su Yu. Lu Hong did things properly as expected. He actually won this opportunity for them openly. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 805. Chapter 805, Chapter 202 Crazy Su Yu, subscribe to the monthly one. Su Yu went on stage. Not only did he go on stage, but at this moment, he even shouted loudly, "The Battle of Shan Duo has been going on for many years. The order of the Academy has long been in chaos." The Great Xia Civilization Academy was even more affected by the Battle of Shan Duo. Everyone's hearts were in chaos. Their hearts were in chaos. It wasn't about scientific research or cultivation. They only cared about competing for power and benefits. They only cared about competing for resources. No one wanted to open the source, only competing for resources. Such a great Xia Institute of Civilization is far too different from what I imagined. Su Yu shouted, scheming and scheming. If it was purely a competition, it would be fine. Even a competition would become an arena for scheming. If the single Divine One department really wasn't willing to take out these spots, they might as well not hold such a competition. Since it's held, then follow the rules. You've tarnished your own reputation, don't you find it laughable? Su Yu looked at Lu Hong with contempt, then at Pavilion Master Sun, then at the single Divine One Department students. Lu Hong didn't say a word, while Pavilion Master Sun frowned. Suyu smiled and said, we've already fought. At this time, don't set up a memorial arch for yourself. Isn't it just to target me? I'm here. I don't care about that spot, but I'm still here. Since you're a villain, then be a true villain. Don't imitate Teacher Lu. A true villain shouldn't be a hypocrite. Everyone knows that you're a hypocrite, yet you still want to pretend. This is meaningless. Lu Hong said faintly, Suyu, you can't speak carelessly. You know the crime of slander against teacher. Just a few days ago, someone was punished. That's slander. Suyu smiled and said, I'm not slandering, I'm telling the truth. Who didn't know about the battle between Shan Duo? At this time, there was no need to pretend to be innocent. Teacher Lu, let me ask you, if I didn't say this, would the students from the Shan Shenwen department not challenge me? Suyu looked down and shouted, since you want to deal with me, then what's the point of pretending? I'm going on stage. The team is full of your people, what are you hesitating for? What are you afraid of? Has the single Divine Literature department already fallen to such a state? Is it so difficult to deal with a student who just entered the school? Suyu shouted, if you have the strength, then let's rely on our strength. If we don't have the strength, then let's keep a low profile and behave ourselves. It's difficult for us to become great by playing those small tricks all day long. When your single Divine Literature department produces a few suns and moons and a few invincible students of the same level, then we can talk about replacing them. Suyu's angry shouts were deafening. Below the stage, it gradually became noisy. On the stage, Lu He and the others lowered their heads and did not say a word. Suyu sneered and said, after saying so much, no one dares to go on stage. Don't say that you will stop there. If you want to deal with me, Suyu, be straightforward and direct. Fight a life and death battle, and I will grant your wish. In the viewing area, Chen Yong's expression changed. He stood up, looked at Suyu, and said with a frown, Suyu. Suyu looked down, he smiled and said, Uncle Master, it's all right. These people aren't even in my eyes. As long as they dare, some of them would dare to fight at the same level and kill me openly. That's their ability. If they can't kill me and are killed by me instead, then they're trash. If they don't have some ability and still want to find trouble, then they deserve to die. Pavilion Master Sun also stood up and looked at Suyu. His gaze was cold as he said, Suyu, you want to fight a life and death battle? Suyu calmly said, why not? Pavilion Master Sun looked at those students of the single Divine Literature department. Many of them lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at him. Pavilion Master Sun's expression darkened. Suyu smiled and said, as long as you guys dare, then come. I originally came out of seclusion to fight a few life and death battles. I'll let you guys know that if you don't have the ability, then behave yourself. There's no need to keep jumping around all the time. Just nice, take this opportunity to come together. Suyu shouted, I'll give you guys a chance. One-on-one, you probably won't dare. Now, it's 5 against 5. As long as the 4 of them don't betray us, I'll tacitly agree that they won't participate in the battle. I'll fight 5 against 1 and bet a life and death battle. Do you dare? Suyu's voice became even louder. Even if they betray us, I'll still dare to fight 1 against 9. As long as they dare to make a move, I'll dare to kill them. Do you dare? All 4 sides were silent. A moment later, someone below the stage snorted coldly. Arrogant. Arrogant. Suyu looked at that person, he sneered and said, come up on the stage. Sign the life and death contract. If you have the ability, beat me to death. If I give it to you guys wouldn't even dare to go up. You're all a bunch of trash. Wasting resources, I used up more resources than you guys. I even used up tens of thousands of merit points. So what? With the same resources, I nurtured 10 single God language students. So what? If you guys come up here, I will let you know that even if there are 10 people, they are only 10 pigs waiting to be killed. Bastard. He's been in school for a few months, yet he dares to be so arrogant. Does he really think that no one can do anything to him? One student after another angrily rebuked him. The other students fell silent one after another. No one made a sound. They did not know why Suyu was so confrontational at this moment. They felt that this was not a good time to turn hostile. Was Suyu not afraid of death? Suyu was afraid of death. But at this moment, he wanted to have a good fight, a fight. The kind that did not hold back. Not only that, Suyu even encouraged, the single Divine Literature Department, or the current Divine Literature Academy, has long changed. It is the single Divine Literature Department that has good treatment, good welfare, and strong teachers. It is not the single Divine Literature Department. If I am the enemy, then it goes without saying. But what about the other students? Their talent is slightly worse, their background is slightly worse, and they have no place to stand.